hit the record button.
There, now it's recording.
I don't like this,
no,
Erica. I don't know what you got going on. It must
no,
be
it's
because
not.
of your
It's
phone.
not. It's not me. It's it's my phone. It's it's probably your computer. It's probably just like a bug in your computer or something.
got a virus.
This has never happened to me before.
The virus now.
It's not
all
my
over.
phone.
All
It's because
over.
you did it from a phone instead of a laptop. It's
You
giving me
messed it
trouble.
all up.
All right, but anyways,
So-
all right. So here's the deal on Tupac.
Okay, sure.
Tupac was like born in the
Now
East
she's
Coast, and he was raised in different parts. Like he was born on the East Coast. I think he was born like technically in the Bronx, then spent some time in like Harlem and different parts.
He went to high
maybe
school in
a little-
Baltimore.
Well, that's later. That's later.
It's the style, though. It's more the style.
So
Is what makes
the thing with him that makes him West Coast is it was his formative years. He spent from the ages of 17 to 25 on the West Coast, right? So it's like that means like last year of high school or after you graduated, and when you became a man, and when you became a rapper, right? Because he wasn't really rapping before then. And
No, but he wasn't an artist.
was-
I mean, he went to a performing arts high school in Baltimore. He was
Right,
like in the arts.
That's my point. Is he wasn't grown up yet. He literally grew up on the West Coast, right? From the age of 17 to 25, his formative years. Before that, he's a kid. And so that's
if you would say that like someone like me who grew up in Medina and then moved to Buffalo when I turned 18, did I grow up in Buffalo?
You were raised in Medina.
How long were you in Buffalo for?
I think I was 24 when I left, so like 18 to 24.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you go
6
to
years.
Philly, people are gonna say you're from Buffalo,
Right?
It doesn't.
Well, they would just say that just because of vicinity,
But
even
that's fine anyway. But
yeah.
but unless you offer up, well, I was raised in Medina. See, now we're talking about different things. We're talking about raised. We're talking about from. Right? Those are different things. Those are like formative years.
I feel like it's impossible that his time on the East Coast didn't influence his work.
No one has ever said that. That's not what the conversation means. These are like this is like the problem with like the English language and like the modern day communication is everything is like in juxtaposition to, right? It's like
all of the people.
Yeah, what's good?
I sound really good today, don't I?
You sound
It's
fine.
like if someone says it's like if someone says Biggie was amazing, and then someone else has to hop in and say, "Oh, but Tupac was really good," and it's like, yeah, that's fine. Nobody said that, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I sound really good today because I have like new headphones on, and I'm assuming I sound better than I've ever sounded.
You sound good. We were talking about whether
they sound great in my headphones.
We were talking about how whether people get to claim Tupac as a West Coast when he grew up in the East Coast and didn't move to the West Coast until he was 17. Flavy's argument being that he didn't start rapping until he was on the West Coast, therefore he is a West Coast rapper.
Well,
I think
you're summing up.
I
You're
don't
summing
think
it up
that
a
he
little.
started.
West
I
Coast.
don't think that
Too
that's
simple?
a true. I don't think that's an accurate account that he didn't start rapping until he was on the West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, they called him MC New York when he was on the East Coast, but like he didn't really have. He didn't.
Well, he certainly had tracks, and he certainly was doing the digital underground thing.
Where was Digital Underground?
I don't know that they were out of California. I could be wrong. Though. I just don't know.
They are.
But Brenda's Got a Baby. Brenda's Got a Baby was certainly New York.
They're out of the Bay, and the stuff.
Yeah, but when he did Brenda's Got a Baby, that was certainly a New York track, and that was pre-West Coast Tupac.
Well, I mean that's one track, but I mean
Well, that was
Digital,
off of the album, off his album.
yeah, but Digital Underground, when he was with Digital Underground, he hadn't even put out music yet, and they were on the West Coast. So he was
Yeah,
being
but
groomed.
he was a roadie with Digital Underground when he was putting out music though, and I don't know. That's why I said I don't know that it's accurate because I know when he did that Brenda's Got a Baby album, he wasn't on the West Coast. That album that Brenda's Got a Baby came from.
I wouldn't be so sure about that.
Well, I'm not. I didn't say. I didn't.
Yeah,
Even...
no, that's what I'm saying. Like most people assume because of how he dressed and how he looked, and because he was MC New York, and because
and that the video was in New York.
Ballet, yeah, because he did ballet when he was growing up and all that stuff. But even remember Interscope. That's who Interscope had to deal with, like Death Row and all that, right? So even though we think of him as East Coast back then, he grew up in the Bay. Now, if we want to take all the argument out of it, from Tupac's own mouth, if we're going to trust the artist, from Tupac's own mouth, he spent his formative years in the Bay. That's why his relationship.
Well, my contention, I'm certainly not contending that he isn't a West Coast rapper. I think that he is.
Yeah.
I don't think that all of his rap was West Coast rap or even inspired by being a West Coast rapper. But I certainly consider Tupac to be a West Coast rapper.
Well,
he embodied
unless we're talking
West
about
Coast.
Unless we're talking about 16-year-old Tupac, because again, from the ages of 17 to 25, he was on the West Coast.
Well, again, so Bone Thugs and Harmony were Midwest rappers who spent most of their rap career on the West Coast. But they were Cleveland rappers.
Yeah, but you wouldn't call
LA.
There's no way you would call them, these are Midwest rappers. They're just not.
Yeah, but you're not calling them West Coast rappers either. They weren't
probably
West Coast
not,
rappers.
But I just don't, like, if you're gonna, like, there's no category to put them in then.
Right, but I'm only using that as an example because they recorded most of their music in LA and they were out there with Eazy-E.
So a few different things. One is recording music. I don't know that means that they lived out there.
Yeah, they were living in Cali. They moved out to Cali. Yeah.
The other thing is, I mean, these guys repped Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
Repped Cleveland hard, like in their music.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, though. And I don't want to cut you off. I just want to say really quick, Mike, on that early album, which he could have been a teenager because it's not many rappers in that era were teenagers. You know what I mean? And on that Brenda's Got a Baby album, he wasn't repping the West Coast. There was no West Side, none of that. Not saying that he wasn't a West Coast. I don't know. I just know that
there wasn't. I just know the ages of when he went out because you remember people were critical of Tupac and they were critical of, they blamed him for the East Coast West Coast thing, and they were critical of where he was from, whether it was his fans or writers and blah blah blah. So he aired this out in an interview, and he told us why he claimed the West Coast. And he said because that's where he learned to be a man. That's where he learned to fight. That's where he, learned his slang. That's where he learned his game. That's where he learned the business of music. That's where he learned everything that made him who he was.
It's about, like, so if someone grew up in New York and then went to Oakland for college, do they get to claim Oakland as their home? Because it would be around the same age.
I never said what was his home. I mean, I said where he was from. Right. So here's the thing. From the age of 17 to 25 is more than the 4 years for college. Okay? Right. So that's like basically double the amount of time you spend in college. And unfortunately, he died after that. So it's not like we don't even have more time. Right. So we don't even have more time after that to compare to. But like, you know, looking at his life from the age of 1 to I think he was 25 or 26. Yeah, 25 when he died. Yeah, he spent the last 8 years of his life, like he spent a third of his life in Cali and his oldest years. So I mean, you're like I said, if you when you went to Philly and you had spent what was it, 8 years in Buffalo, 6?
Yeah.
Like people,
But
yeah, people could say you were from Buffalo. I mean, the Medina was like, yeah, you grew up in Medina, but you know, you spent your formative years in Buffalo. I mean, also Tupac lived like a very packed, action-packed life. So like those 8 years is like him touring around the world, like being in all types of situations and all of that too. I mean, it's not
I'm
easy.
going to make an argument that supports your argument. So
Okay.
if someone asks me, or like would describe me, they would say I'm a Philadelphia-based circus artist, predominantly because I wasn't a circus artist until I lived in Buffalo, or until I lived in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was still moving. So Tupac, you know, he went to performing arts high school. He did ballet. He did drama. He did all that, which probably built some foundation for what he did later. But it's the same. So I did dance and movement, but I didn't do circus until I was in Philly. So then people would say that I was a Philadelphia-based circus artist.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and also to add to that, because I think the argument is fair for both sides with Tupac, because I was just researching it. So he did move to LA. He moved to actually San Francisco Bay, but he started recording under the name MC New York in '89, and that's the year Brenda's Got a Baby was recorded. So while he did come out in California, he did by 92, 91, when Tupacalypse Now came out, he was Tupac and was fervently, you know, entrenched in the West Coast hip hop community. The whole, that everything that he did by 1989 under MC, because Brenda's Got a Baby was released in 91, but he recorded it in 89.
Okay.
He recorded it in 89 before becoming a roadie for Digital Underground. So that's why that whole that song has a straight New York vibe.
Okay.
Like the video, the whole nine. So I'm not arguing, because I think he's a West Coast rapper. I certainly think that he did New York songs influence. I mean, his name was MC New York. He recorded, you know, Brenda's Got a Baby under the name MC New York. Mind you, again, it didn't get released to 91.
I got the.
So he was still rapping. It says that he started rapping under the name MC New York in '89. So he was directly speaking to his ties to New York.
Now, also, what you said about, also he recorded this song while he was filming Juice, and Juice is like one of his big ties to the West Coast as well. When that movie came out,
I got even a deeper cut than that. Don't you remember Nothing But Trouble?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in that movie even earlier. So that's more of his ties to the West Coast.
91. That was already, like 90.
91. It was like 91 or 92. And it was with Humpty Hump and the Digital Underground. And what was the song? Tie the Knot, right?
Tie the Knot.
Is that what it's called?
I don't think so. But that is
like that.
91 is that same time. But yeah, again, that's all his ties to the West Coast, and even MC New York. Like, most people don't know him, you know, under that name, or if they do, you know, it's not his famous moniker.
Yeah, no, that just speaks to his acknowledging his ties to New York, especially when he was recording the music he recorded in '89 when he went under that name. Yeah. Which would include Brenda's Got a Baby, which is why Brenda's Got a Baby just stands out, as does the movie Juice, stands out as an East Coast movie.
Well, also, I mean, there's a lot of transplants to California who are in movies in California, but that doesn't make them Californians. Like, at what point do you become a Californian?
I think it's most of his best work is done on the West was done when he's living on the West Coast, and he never repatriated or whatever you want to say back into New York to be like, oh, well, and I mean, yeah, maybe if he lived, he would have, and maybe, you know, in a different world, we would have seen that. But that's a lot of maybes.
Well, corrupt identifies as a Philly rapper, but he's certainly West Coast. Like he identifies as he's from Philly, he acknowledges he's from Philly, but he's certainly a West Coast rapper.
But then he affiliates with the West Coast.
Well, yeah, he lived in the West Coast. He was a corrupt. You know, no one's gonna argue that corrupt wasn't a West Coast rapper, but we all know he was from Philly. He acknowledges he was from Philly. It's no secret. You know what I mean?
Right. I think though part of it could be just that East Coast West Coast feud, that it was like Tupac's got to take a side.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna bring that up, that he's made his like the line was drawn in the sand back then, and he definitely chose him and Biggie had and I think they both knew that it was good for business in reality.
Biggie didn't want any part of it.
You don't think so?
No, he was very quiet and he didn't respond. Biggie didn't really want any part of I don't think Biggie wanted to shoulder the burden of being the representative of the East Coast any more than they were already making him be, because people were dying.
Right. But I think as much as his record label and the whole industry was trying to promote this beef, and that's part of the problem with it, was that it was orchestrated, and I'm not saying it wasn't real, that people were dying, but like it was purposeful, you know.
I mean, the only reason why I say I don't think Biggie wanted any party, because Biggie didn't do anything to profit off of it. He never responded musically to Tupac.
I thought maybe you'd seen him, like an interview with him or something, that he had said something where he would have.
No, it's just how he carried himself. He just never responded. You know, I think he said one line like Tupac's or something, and that's it. Like he never responded. He never did any rebuttal songs. He never made any music dissing the West Coast or West Coast rapper. Like he didn't make any profit off of it.
Right.
Musically. And I certainly don't think Puffy really wanted any.
So no, because I think. Go ahead.
So I don't think Puffy. I don't want to say he didn't want anything to do with it, because I don't know. I'll say that he didn't want to be visible having anything to do with it.
I don't think it was good for his image was. He was trying to garner himself to be, or not really the word, establish himself.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Everybody's got an image. And
he literally lost the love of his wife over a negative image, like the love of his life. Like he genuinely loved J-Lo. And, you know, his image and the things that he may have been involved in cost that relationship.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly how that, because I do remember that being, but I'm trying to remember the exact cause. I could just probably.
Family didn't want her to be with him.
Right.
Because of the things that he may or may not, that didn't come to light, be involved in on a street level.
It was just such a, like, insane time, too.
And that dude was in love with J-Lo. And, you know, doesn't deny it to this day.
Who wouldn't be?
I mean, she all right.
I'm looking something up. Hold on.
You know, you got to imagine the impact it had on J-Lo's family. J-Lo has a close-knit family. People were dying. Like, Biggie gets killed, Pac gets killed. Like, people were straight dying. Not to mention all of the people that died as collateral damage that we know about. Quad studio shootings and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really, when you reflect on that now, you're like, it's so crazy that even took place.
Wait, people were like nuts. I'm reading it right now. It's like weapons violations and like you would try to get. I remember there being a time when they would purposely try to get her so they could get rap. Like I gotta get arrested for something. Like, are you serious? Like you're trying to get yourself. Like that's some insane. I'm trying to remember who some of these rappers were that were doing, but like, not Juvenile. What the hell?
No Limit.
There's definitely some. I don't know if that's who I was gonna say. Ja Rule did it. What I can't remember what he got arrested for, and they were giving him business. Everybody was giving him business for like purposely having some firearm violation. I'm like purposely getting caught. Like how like insane is that? Oh, I'm just gonna get myself arrested here because I need my image to be a certain way.
Yeah,
The message it sends to everyone else in society is absurd.
I'm good with that. I don't need to be. I don't ever want to be incarcerated.
Yeah, I was once in my life. All the charges have been expunged from my record, but I was in one of what they call a kennel, which is a terrible name for it. But there's like 80 people in one room. It's like one of the worst experiences. It's awful.
What did I miss?
I'm not built for it.
We were just talking about how the time, like, the time,
Spooky houses.
how bad the feud became in the East and the West Coast. And, like, it's just insane how people were just like purposely getting themselves arrested and trumping up get weapons violate. Like people are just insane. Like just didn't care. And the whole
purposely getting themselves arrested.
Yeah, well, to bolster their rep. Like I'm a bad, I'm gangster. Like for instance, Ja Rule. You don't remember that.
Ja Rule purposely getting arrested?
Yeah, there was a whole. Everybody was. I will look this up. I will look this up. Maybe it wasn't Ja Rule.
We live in a world now where you can Google it all.
Right.
Sounds
right.
I played it coming out of
How
Ghost
should I
Mode
look
today.
this up?
Sounds like.
How should I look this up?
You coming out of Ghost Mode today?
I contemplated it.
Why not
briefly.
come out of ghost mode?
I contemplated it briefly.
Show your face.
I do show my face.
I'm showing my face.
I do. I don't know. I'm nowhere near my phone. I have new headphones. I can be hands-free and cord-free.
Hey, I thought it was just
maybe I'm
lighting,
wrong, but I doubt
had
it.
a lighting issue or something.
Yeah, that will. No, I don't have the lighting issue anymore.
Oh, okay, you're just used to Ghost Mode now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be used to Ghost Mode. This is it. This is probably the last day you'll see me in Ghost Mode.
I want to put a face to the words I'm listening to on the podcast.
Eyes without a face. That should be your theme song.
You have to not be strange. You haven't been, so yeah. The onus is on me. You're right.
Yeah, it sounds like you're thinking of the movie CB4 or something.
No, what was it? Maybe there was a movie.
Sometimes celebrities get arrested on purpose at protests. That's a thing.
Yeah,
oh yeah, these two.
I just remember.
Two women got
I'm
arrested.
probably
on purpose
wrong
for,
on the actual rapper that
illegally getting their children into college.
Yeah,
I think her name is like
whatever
Lori
happened with
Loughlin
that
or something.
Yeah, from Full House? Whatever happened with that?
She got arrested on purpose. Martha Stewart got arrested on purpose.
You think that
Remember when she did that?
When?
Wait, you think Martha Stewart got arrested on purpose?
Yeah, well, she wanted to let everyone know she was gangster.
Why?
Oh. So he's being facetious. He's mocking me out.
Yeah,
I'm
messing with Matt.
I was talking to somebody because they lived in Stockton and they were saying people in Stockton were worried about Snoop Dogg's concert coming to town because they were worried about the kind of people he would attract. And I was kind of giving him a hard time about that for obvious reasons. And I was like, why? Because Snoop Dogg's friends with felons like Martha Stewart.
Well, wait, this was in Pennsylvania?
Him and Martha Stewart are homies too.
Yeah.
Stockton, California. Snoop Dogg was doing a concert there. And I was like, okay, we're talking about a guy, like, okay, forget about what you think of when you think of Snoop Dogg, but we're talking about a guy who runs nonprofits, he runs animal rescues, he's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Like, would you be afraid to have the person I'm describing come do a concert where you are? And
Right.
she's like, no. And I was like, that's Snoop Dogg. You know, except for the friend he has that's a felon, you know,
Yeah.
Martha Stewart.
Right.
Him and Martha Stewart got that cooking show too.
Yeah.
Do you guys follow Snoop Dogg on Instagram?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He has the best Instagram account.
He's what?
Cracks me up.
Yeah.
Everything that he posts is hilarious or just good, you know, like.
Yeah.
I just wish his music was good.
You mean his current music?
Any of his music.
Not taking a bait.
Mike, you're not biting
Shots
Mike.
fired.
You're not biting Mike.
Nope.
You missed that portion the other day, Erica, when we were talking about Snoop Dogg. The majority of us were not really impressed with his career as a rapper.
He's sold out as of late. It's like unnerving to see him doing Corona commercials for me. Like
Is he
did
doing
he sell out
COVID?
or did he buy in?
I don't know. It's just like fair. It's just a weird vibe.
St. Ides was cool, but Corona's not.
Okay, so maybe they didn't purposely get arrested, but they lied about their criminal records.
Who?
Like trumped up certain rappers. I've got a video right here. I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's what Jay-Z said. Remember, he was like talking about how rappers lie about their rep all the time.
Oh, well, getting arrested on purpose is totally different.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I made a mistake. I apologize, but
So
I want
wait,
to speak
Snoop Dogg.
I want to speak. Go on.
Huh? I'm saying Snoop Dogg's doing COVID PSAs. Is that what you're saying?
Is for the sake of entertainment. Here are some rappers who surprisingly don't have a criminal
right.
I want to speak to what Matt said, though. I want to get some insight on that because from my perspective, it seems like, especially coming from, a certain culture, that, rap artists in particular are held to this standard where, like, they got to keep it real. So then they can't necessarily take advantage of some of the things that other entertainers are able to take advantage of. And, and I want to, I'll put that in perspective in a sense and say, like, for a long time, it was very difficult for rap artists to even be accepted if they didn't write their own lyrics. Where, like, that's just not a requirement in any other form of music. But, you're not even going to get respect. Now you can, but, for a long time. So, when you say, like, he sold out, I wonder, that's why I just like some more insight on that, because it's like, every other artist in every other form of entertainment can do a Corona commercial, or they can do a Revlon commercial, or they can
certain artists don't. Certain artists in different genres, like, and there's artists in every like rap, hip hop, metal, like for metal, a band like Tool has never sold out. They do.
So how are we defining selling out?
Well,
So
Tool won't even
know
accept a Grammy. Like they'll just be like, take your Grammy and shove it. And, like they won't accept any kind of they'll accept some awards because certain awards are like, but like I guess when you sell out is when you're doing like mass media commercials, like for I don't know, because it's hard to say because I'm gonna
take this for a while. So in order to sell out, you would have had to have been a certain something in the beginning. Rappers don't really, to sell out is to really commercialize your sound and to take advantage and to water down your shit so that it's very palatable to the masses and you can make money off of it. So some people say that Ja Rule sold out because he started doing like all those duets and like all the corny bullshit he started doing. But as far as doing a Corona commercial, I mean, rappers like beer like anyone else.
Yeah, but you don't think that's kind of bit like selling out? Like, don't you think he should be doing like old English commercial, or is that?
Okay, listen.
Wait. First of all,
that's some racist shit.
That's some racist. I'm not trying to be, but I'm just trying to be.
Well, let me answer you. First of all,
Corona,
malt liquor.
I don't know.
Wait, first of all, let me answer you. Malt liquor is fucking disgusting, and no grown man should be advertising malt liquor, and it's not.
I was
positive.
kidding. I really
It's not a
shouldn't
good
have
look
said
to the
that.
community.
I knew what I was
But listen,
saying
you're-
when I
So-
said
you're-
it. But
You were
You're
going to say
using-
something, Erica, as well?
Well, yeah. So I used to come from the perspective of, without really thinking of the bigger picture, anybody who is on any sort of major label is a sellout, and I'm not going to buy their music. But if you don't come from a place where your platform is anti-major label, anti-establishment, then you're not a sellout when you take money for a commercial. And then
Exactly.
furthermore, I think the system was set up to have the wealth go into the hands of wealthy white people. So if you are a person of color, like Beyonce or like Obama, and you're making money, like, you're not selling out. You're finally getting the system to work in your favor. That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah.
well,
Well, that's
I
it's
mean-
interesting because that's what I wanted to speak to really quick, just to throw something out there. Black people, we come from a culture of people that have never had an opportunity to establish real wealth until fairly recently. We've come from a culture of people that, in most cases, our outlet out of our some low income communities is through sports or through music. And to see somebody, that's why I'm really careful about what exactly it is to sell out, because to see somebody get to a certain level where they can sell Corona or where they can sell Polo perfume or what have you, also on some level shows people in our culture that, yes, people like us, when you turn on the TV, you no longer just have to see people that look one way in these positions, that people like us can get to these points. So, I just wanted to throw that out there as well, because I don't think Ja Rule sold out. Not to contradict what Mike is saying, because Mike makes a good point, and I think a lot of the stuff was corny. But Ja Rule always had this skill set of being able to write R&B songs, and so he certainly made money off of that skill.
I saw an interview with someone from Rancid, and the punk scene is all about, like, don't sell out, don't sell out.
Yeah.
And the guy from Rancid was saying, like, it is easy to say don't sell out when you come from an upper middle class family and you have a safety net and you're going to college.
Mhm.
But I came from a working class family, so if I can make music and I can make money off that music, yeah, I'm gonna sell out.
Mm-hmm. If somebody wants to put my face on a billboard for yogurt,
Put it up.
really, I sold out.
Well,
But if somebody else who doesn't look like me does it, oh, they're a great business person and they know how to market themselves in order. Like, but if I do it, I sold out.
here's the difference. It's one thing to come up with your own, like, for instance, if you came up with your own alcohol, like if Snoop was selling his own alcohol, I would totally be like, awesome, dude, way to go, get your own business, make your money. But becoming a corporate shill, essentially, not Corona's. I shouldn't be using. I'm just using him as an example. But there's many other people. They sell Pepsi. They sell, and I'm not saying don't buy these things or these things. Some people enjoy a lot of this stuff, but it's one thing to have a message. And Snoop Dogg maybe didn't have really a message that was like I'm not that he can be held to that standard. Oh, did he sell out or did he not? But when somebody that does, and then you see them, like, I heard a Bob Marley commercial on, like, it's not his choice, but his kids are selling that to or it was in like a Chevy commercial or something like that, and like,
Yeah, where the little crow.
yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say here is, but like, that's that kind of stuff, the stuff that like it's a established company that has millions and millions of advertising dollars to throw at things and do, like, and that's all that's really happening there. There's no free exchange of thought and, like, oh, this, I got a good idea, let's merge this together. Like, if Corona was to even fund his own beverage line or whatever, it's just I feel a lot better about that than I would about
See,
him.
I think that the exchange takes place in the basic principle of compensation for provision of a good or a service. You know why actors, high-end actors, Samuel Jackson, Nicolas Cage, why they leave? A high-end actor can make more money going to Japan or China and filming a commercial for a day than they could if they did it in the United States. So they do it all the time. It's like a hustle for them. You know, they'll get $500,000 to $1 million to film a commercial for a day.
I've seen a lot of those strange, and a lot of them are very strange.
Yeah, and they'll just do it because like money, right? Like I want to take advantage of these opportunities where I make money. And I guess if that's selling out, like what are we talking about here, right? Like,
well,
the American...
I'm trying to quantify it into some, like, how you like, but I guess it's different. It really is different for everybody. But what I see as selling out is if you become the face of a corporation or the face of.
So I did a commercial for Dixie Ultra paper plates. Now, if that's where that's those types of jobs, I do a lot of corporate gigs too, where corporations hire me for their like team building. Like Mary Kay does this crazy, weird ass like team building convention, and they hire me to do like some cartwheels.
Okay.
So if that's where I make most of my money.
Are you saying that this has actually happened?
Yeah. I am.
Or you're just okay? Because
No,
I want to see these
I,
commercials. If they're out there.
This was just an event, but I do a lot of corporate events, right? So, and the commercial, the Dixie Plate commercial was like a Facebook Live 1 hour event. So if I'm doing that stuff and making like the bulk of my income from that, and that allows me to continue working for a nonprofit and be able to sustain myself, even though nonprofits don't pay that well, because I'm also doing the side stuff. Am I a sellout? Because I wouldn't be able to sustain myself on the nonprofit income alone.
Then you wouldn't be a sellout. But if you're, and like you can't know what anybody's real motives behind or what they're doing behind the scenes are. But if you see somebody that's, I don't know. I'm just trying to.
So I think it comes down to violating your own principles.
Exactly.
Right. Well,
exactly.
Well, that's where you have it.
But your own principles, not other people's expectations.
Right.
Of
That's why I'm saying that it's hard to determine. Like, is he really selling out, or is he just like, I like beer? I like this
dude
beer.
from the Smiths starts doing Burger King commercials,
then
he sold the fuck out.
Morrissey's the dude who wrote an album. They're like a vegan.
The Smiths is one of the greatest '80s bands.
They're pretty good
of all time.
So there was a controversy around here. There's sorry to Flavia if you're still explaining who the Smiths are. Oh, my Wi-Fi froze up. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay. Maybe just Flavia froze. So there's a vegan restaurant around here. It's a chain of vegan restaurants. And the owners decided that they wanted to start raising cattle and doing sustainably raised cattle for their own consumption. They didn't want to be vegan anymore, even though they ran this vegan restaurant chain. Okay. And they started raising their own cows. So people were pissed off.
Boycotting them?
Not enough people knew about it. Are they sellouts?
Though. I don't know if they're sellouts. It's kind of like, I don't know, like, it is kind of, it's close to.
Well, I would say this. I would say this. If they started doing, if the owners of this restaurant started doing commercials for other meat producing people, that would be some sellout type shit. I mean, they sound like they're going against their own. They sound like their principles are changing.
They're just trying. It becomes only to make money. That's all. They're not really.
They weren't selling the beef.
Oh well, I assume they weren't selling it. They
just wanted to try eating meat. They
had been vegan a long time. No, by definition, that's not what a sellout is. A sellout would be someone.
I just wouldn't feel real good about it. It would make me.
No, I mean Morrissey is so hardcore that he won't even perform on like a stage that is like has meat like in the green room for like the other performers and stuff, or like is barbecuing or selling meat. Like he won't even perform, on
there's jokes
on
about
a late night show.
There's jokes about it that they'll show like he's performing and there's nobody there, like performing live Morrissey, and then it's a blank screen, like it's like a meme joke.
Right.
It's constant. Yeah. He's never there because he's like, nah, I'm not coming in there because somebody killed a pig in here. I could smell it. Maybe not that extreme, but
well,
they got a whole album called "Meat Is Murder."
That's a great album. Yeah, I
It
would
is.
start.
It's an
I would start
amazing
with that.
album.
Ish.
But what is his
Everybody.
net worth? Like, has he made good money off his music?
He's
And-
rich. Morrissey's
Right,
got
so
money.
If he was
Let's
in a
see.
position
Well,
where he
his one
needed
album
the
was
money,
really good.
right? He was very popular. So I assume, without Googling it, that he's comfortable
Yeah.
financially. If he was in a position where he needed the money, do you think he would still be doing that?
Morrissey. Yes.
Yeah, I know he's hardcore.
You
Yes.
think
Morrissey
he would sell
would.
out? I think if he was
Morrissey would
broke
not.
and naked in a barrel, he would still be the way he is.
Yeah, no, Morrissey-
But I think her point is that there are people that probably would do what they needed to do.
No, I get
And
that.
not
I
this guy,
understand
though.
that. I get that.
Hold on. We're gonna look at it.
No,
now.
Snoop
I think
Dogg, he's not
Morrissey
in a
is an
position where he
exception.
needs the money.
Yeah, I mean, Snoop Dogg never said, never said.
I'm not.
fuck.
That's what I've
Operations
I've
like
come to that
fuck,
conclusion.
Yeah.
Hold on. His
I
net
mean,
worth is
now-
50 million.
Okay.
Who, Snoop?
No, Morrissey.
Morrissey. I was gonna guess like 32 million or something. Now, if
Two sites.
Public Enemy started doing, Corona commercials, that would be sellout shit, right? Because they're
Or
Yeah,
not.
that would be-
Budweiser.
They don't.
That would
they
be-
don't- They don't get down like that. So that
Or
Do you
would
Rage
remember
be
that
Against
Dead
the
Pred
Machine.
song? So there was that one Dead Pred song about like shopping at the mall.
I
That
don't
was on
know.
Get Free or Die Trying.
I think I know.
It
It
what
was
you're
really
talking about. I
out
don't
of
know what-
character for them.
Hold on.
Oh, I don't know.
It was, the lyrics were like, make money, money, go shopping. All about like going to the mall and shopping.
That's not.
It was-
That's not Dead Press. That's
is,
not
is
Dead
that
Press.
Gangstar?
Yeah.
Oh, that's Gangstar. So
Yeah.
Same.
Make
same
money,
thing.
go shopping.
yeah,
Money,
that song to me
shopping.
was like really out of character for them
For Gangstar?
compared to the rest of, for Gangstar, because the rest of their music was a little deeper than that.
Yeah. They probably were like,
guess-
yo, let's do a party song. I
Right,
bet you that was their label.
There's some
I bet you
party
that was their, I bet
songs
you that
on
was their
some
label.
albums that were
Yeah, maybe.
surprising to me.
I was like, is there a secret message in this song that I'm not hearing? Like,
Ish,
what's going
do you
on?
remember that song?
I do. It was definitely not a Gangstar type song.
Right.
But it
So are they
wasn't
salads
like
for making the
it-
weird ass song?
I don't think they sold out. It just wasn't something that I would ever. It felt out of place for a Gangstar song. But
Yeah.
again, Mike, we've
And it
had this
wasn't my
conversation
favorite.
before.
And it wasn't my favorite Gangstar song either. But it wasn't so out of place that I was like, yo, what the hell is this? It wasn't
Right.
like the record scratch that I looked around and wondered what was going on.
Well, that's because
Oh.
there's a part of you that concedes, and we've had this conversation before, that certain artists might not, you just can't put them in a box. Like, people should be able to branch out and, do other things. And that line when it comes to selling out musically is like, well, wait a minute. When is it selling out, or when is it just, I've grown and I want to branch out and try something?
Hey, you can't play that.
I know.
Well, I don't know.
I'm turning up.
Well, you know
But
what? I don't
there-
even know why we do that. It's not like we're to the point where we're going to be.
We're not making
monetizing
any
this
money
stuff
off
anyway.
of this.
Well, if you post it on YouTube, so the rules with YouTube, and I've run into this, is it's different for every
turn it
single
off.
song. So some songs have chosen that if you play them in your video at all, they will take your video down. And other songs have chosen that if you play the video, they're going to monetize your video. But it is really hard to find a list of which song is which. There used to be a website you can go to and type in the song. It would tell you whether it was going to be monetized or just completely removed. And that website was taken down like in March. So now it's like, just leave the copyrighted stuff out of your video because there's a risk it'll get taken down.
Well, the other thing that confuses me is there's supposed to be a time limit. Like, you're supposed to be able to at least play a couple
Like, you
seconds
sing any
worth.
more of that, like, it's like,
Yeah.
it's like media wide, or like multimedia wide, like television, radio. It's all FCC regulated. I think you got like, it's like 7 seconds. Or I could look it up.
No,
Not
it's
that
not,
long?
because I played a little bit of A+ and I got a warning.
Okay.
See,
You're
so
gonna
for
have to-
our video,
We need a
for the
button.
purposes of our
Don't you
video,
have one?
I just
Yeah.
have the benefit of having Mike cover songs.
Right.
So I
yeah,
get to-
we
I get
just
to
need
still-
we need our original own music.
No,
Right,
I've
because
had
it's an
Mike-
algorithm
I've
that's
had Mike
searching for
cover
the data.
songs. I've had Mike cover songs, and that you can't get in trouble if it's your own rendition. Like Erica, if it's you singing someone's song, there's nothing. You know what I mean? You're
can't
good.
do
Yeah,
anything.
But if
yeah,
you're
it's
actually
different. It's
That's
the
parody law, is what protects that, because you're parodying the song.
so like when we were first conceiving the on that ish video, there was a song that I wanted to open the show, and I had Mike. Well, I actually have the recording, and at some point you guys will all hear it, maybe to Mike's chagrin, but it will at some point be attached to the beginning of these things. But yeah, I just had Mike record it, and he did a brilliant. It was brilliant. It's brilliant. I love it.
Well, so here's the
Yeah,
thing about
that's
recording a
awesome.
pre-existing copyrighted song. You won't get a copyright strike on YouTube because they're using digital software to track the digital like footprint essentially of the song. But ASCAP can come for you and
Oh,
say, "Hey,
I had an ASCAP come
Yeah.
for me once.
no, I mean,
life.
but I know their name is funny, but like ASCAP will, if they find your video and you're covering a song that's not out of copyright, they'll say, hey, you have to pay this amount of money for covering that song. And then you can argue, well, I'm not making any money off this video that I made, so you can't charge me for covering that song.
right.
Yeah, because that's a YouTube thing. Like there are so many YouTube stars that became stars because all their channels are just covers of songs. They're just, amateur covers of, well-known songs.
I
And
guess
then they
someone
get
could be a
discovered.
jerk and be like, "Oh, you're making money now. You owe me."
Yeah, they could give us money. They could give you $10 and be like, yeah.
It's interesting when you say that, when you say someone could be a jerk, because nobody cares until you're making money, right? Like, the major company doesn't care
Here's $100
that you're singing their
now,
song
boy.
until you start making money. Then they're like, oh,
Just give us
you made
one point.
$100. We need
Yeah,
99.
just give us,
Yeah, give us
2
1 point on
points
your
on a
album.
dollar.
Yeah,
2
exactly.
points on a dollar.
1 point. They try to screw you out of existence. Like, you mean to tell me you're Sony and you're threatened by the 20 people that watch my YouTube channel?
Yeah, right. No, that digital thing that you said makes sense though, Erica, because that's what that's what a copyright is about,
Algorithm.
right? It's like, well, it's the actual recording. It's not even like the song itself. It's the recording of the song. Right? That's why they can tell right away. That's why
Would
as
anybody
soon as
like
you
any coffee?
upload it, I would.
Oh, yeah, you're going to bring it over.
If you can find out how to give someone coffee digitally, it'll be a
Digital,
billionaire.
like, that's some Star Trek stuff.
Digital
right there.
download.
We need 50
Like,
years on that.
Earl Grey,
That'll just
We
be a
need
good
50
name for an
years.
album.
Digital
For an
coffee.
album, yeah.
Digital coffee,
Digital drip.
digital beverages.
50 years on that, and we'll be jacking in, and instead of us sitting here on Zoom, we'll all be able to actually send
Like
holographic images of
like
ourselves
Star Wars,
and just like hanging out in the same
blue,
room.
will all be blue.
Put on the
Like
VR
giant
glasses,
blue
right?
holograms.
Instead of Zoom, it'll be like VR glasses, and we'll be able to project holographic
That
images of
ain't
ourselves
that
to a
ain't that
common
far
world
away though.
and actually like see each other. No, I'm
I'm
serious.
down.
Like
I'm
that.
down for the digital. I'm down for the digital coffee. I think it can be done because if you're right now, you have what are the computers that can make the 3D
Printers?
the 3D printing?
Yeah, but are you really giving them a coffee or just making them, telling the machine to make it?
Oh, whatever. That's the same.
Well, we could probably do that. Like if we had a coffee machine that need a remote transceiver, like a remote control car, you take it out of there, and you'd have to just hook it up to the program it with inside the coffee maker. It would need to be one of those newer coffee makers, like not necessarily a Keurig because those things are garbage.
Yeah,
But
those
then
are
you
horrible.
just have it like you could like hook it up to your Alexa or your whatever.
Wi-Fi.
Your
Yeah,
other,
Wi-Fi.
yeah, your Wi-Fi, and just be like, make coffee, and then it'd be making your coffee.
Oh yeah, and that's how.
It would
It's
work
like you ought to
that.
try my recipe. Hold on, give me control of your Alexa,
Right.
my
And
Alexa, and
Yeah.
I'll hook it up in your
Wait,
kitchen.
you know what's funny about this is they do have this thing now where you can. There's something weird where you and a friend can have like the same blinking lights in different parts of the country or some weird shit like that, so you can always be reminded.
And then
of your friend.
everyone in the neighborhood is dead.
I used to do it with a friend of mine and my wife. We would just program. I had a military friend. We would just program our watch to go off at the same time on military time, so that we could like be reminded of each other wherever we were in the world.
Okay.
So our watch would just go off.
This uses Wi-Fi technology, I think, to get you to do it at the same time. So whenever one person does it, the other person sees it or something.
I often wanted to, would like fantasize about what if I could visit my friends in Germany without really leaving my home. And I'd be like, well, it goes back to what I was saying. It would probably involve some sort of VR glasses. You know what I mean? You know, digital signals and, you know.
Well, that was before you had Zoom, right? That was before you had Zoom.
Is, you know, I'm creative like that. So I'm always, you know, plotting stupid stuff out for like, you know, stuff that I write. And it just kind of popped in my head because I have a lot of friends in Germany I'd like to visit without actually jumping on a plane to go to visit them. That technology is coming. When I was a kid, we used to like always talk about, the phones where you can actually see the person that you're talking to are coming. And those phones never came.
I've been talking with muted again.
Say again? You were muted?
I'm talking muted again.
We got to come up with a name for you.
I was saying that we have our house set up as a smart home, so we can open the garage, unlock the front door, turn on the lights, all the lights in the house, turn on the TV, turn on like pretty much everything in the house from like the East Coast if we want to. We just have to be connected to Wi-Fi. So if I wanted to like pour a cup of we don't have a coffee maker. We have like a pour over thing, but
wait a minute, wait a minute. I gotta stop you right there. Your house has all these bells and whistles and gadgets, and you don't have a coffee maker.
No, I mean, you know, we have the hipster thing. We've got a coffee grinder, and then we have like a Chemex, you know, and then you pour it.
Sounds like y'all got sugar, no Kool-Aid.
Y'all got a robot.
Y'all got a ham, no burger.
No, we don't. I don't really drink coffee. We have just like a little Chemex, like from the 70s.
Now wait, you were gonna say that you could do a East Coast coffee to the West Coast or something?
Yeah, so if we had a coffee maker that was plugged in, we could for sure just, you know, on the phone be like, okay, make the coffee.
Oh, that would be cool.
We had a house sitter. What's that, Ish?
Tell Rom to buy
the ladies and gentlemen of the viewing audience. I was just highlighting that you have
I
a
said
smart
his name.
home.
He doesn't want his name mentioned on the internet for any reason, so we could just call him Jimmy.
Oh, okay.
Who doesn't want his name mentioned on the internet?
Jimmy.
Don't worry about it. Jimmy.
How do I get that deal where my name don't get mentioned on the internet?
I would check
cybersecurity
my
for a living.
privilege.
Yeah, Jimmy. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people with the same first name, right?
Not in the United States.
Oh, okay. Not even
in
a few?
India, yeah.
Akbar? I love Akbar. He's a great dude.
All right, Jimmy.
Anyway,
so tell Jimmy he should buy a crib in Brooklyn. I'll pay like a measly rent for it, and then you guys can like make me coffee every once in a while.
Because Black Lives Matter. Because Black Lives Matter.
Where's this measly rent you're gonna find in Brooklyn?
You know,
once he buys the place,
you drink iced coffee.
Oh, he's gonna charge you rent after he purchases it.
After he purchases it, yeah.
What a great deal.
You drink iced coffee, Mike, so I take umbrage with that.
I'm sure we can find a way to make good iced coffee. It'll be just be like
there's no such thing. There's no such thing as good iced coffee.
Sure,
it's like green tea.
It's
like green tea. Like why?
Dude, green tea is
like green tea.
Green tea has been enjoyed for centuries and centuries.
It's
Bruh, you just gave me my next Facebook food commentary. It's gonna be on green tea.
You're gonna insult a lot of people who love green tea.
I apparently insulted a lot of people about their love of tomato soup. I do these
Oh,
food
well.
commentaries on Facebook.
Well,
They're
that
all
I
meant to
don't
be
care.
I've
That-
seen about the
that I
tomato
don't care
soup.
about. I know.
Oh,
I know the types
you've missed
of people.
a lot of them, man. I've done some.
Tomato soup is like this. It's like this. It's like you gave up.
Yeah,
all it is,
like really.
like it's vegetable soup.
Evaluate your life
If it
decisions
was
you're
if
eating
it was
tomato soup.
lazy.
It's
Like,
really
why
good with
couldn't you
grilled
put
cheese
at
sandwich,
least
though.
put-
Oh,
Yeah,
here we go.
yeah.
She's like the
That's-
100th person that hit me with the grilled cheese sandwich.
you done it?
That's because the grilled cheese is good.
Right.
It's like
It's not
hold.
because the
It's like
tomato
waiter.
soup is
Waiter.
good.
Yeah,
I'd
but
like to
nobody's
order the
eating
grilled cheese
pasta
and
sauce
tomato
out of a
soup.
jar.
Hold the
What's
tomato
that?
soup, please.
Wait, you said no one's
Right.
eating pasta sauce out of a jar?
Right, like things are just good. They're harmonious. Like pasta's
I mean,
good
okay,
with sauce.
if you're gonna get tomato soup, you can there's gazpacho is better than that.
Exactly.
I don't like
Exactly.
gazpacho.
There's
Exactly.
minestrone. There's all kinds
you.
of
So,
other
Matt,
things
Matt,
you could be doing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
My food commentaries are always meant to be in jest and sarcastic, but
and
I
people
do
took
the,
it seriously.
Sometimes they do, and I've had just be like, yo,
I just
slow your
don't.
roll.
It's like what? Just drink ketchup if you're gonna have tomato soup. It's just
It's
heat
different.
up some ketchup. No, it's not.
You know
want
what the
and
funny
cheese made in a pot?
You know what the funny thing about you saying that no one would just eat pasta sauce out of a jar? Even that would
Prove
taste
our
better
point.
than tomato soup.
The tomato soup.
Tomato
Because-
soup is gross.
Because at least pasta sauce has spices.
It
in
has
it.
something in it.
Yeah.
So Erica, my
He's
status
like, here, I
update
got a
was
great
I
soup
feel
here.
like I feel like tomato soup is the one soup that's made for the waiter. There's a fly in my soup conversation. Like that's kind of how I started it off because that's just what I feel like. Like a fly would definitely, find a home in a bowl of tomato soup.
I don't even
be
think
like,
I
ah,
would go in there.
Want to be there? You know
It'd
what
be
I
like,
mean?
not too
Like,
spicy.
sucks.
Not too spicy at all. I'm just gonna chill here.
You can put some hot
I'll
sauce in
take
your
a
tomato
dump in
soup.
here.
Hot sauce.
Well,
That
then
sounds
Yeah.
nasty.
People
That's
get
up.
sprayed. People
That
get
sounds
sprayed by skunks and bathe in tomato soup.
right, that's what it's most used.
Have
Probably
you
more
ever put a
tomato
little
soup is
Cholula
sold
in
for
your tomato
skunk.
soup?
I don't.
Hot
I
sauce?
thought.
Then
Hot
you're
sauce
check this
is
clear.
hot sauce is not. Yeah, I don't. Hot sauce and soup is weird. It spreads too much. I just taste nothing but hot
you
sauce.
need some Sriracha.
that's not
Let's
good.
just
Like,
make
it's
this
not-
clear.
That ain't
Let's
gonna
just
It's
spread.
not good.
make this clear for the people in the front. You're not really gonna find too many black people that have tomato soup
No.
on
There's
their.
none of that
on
in your
their-
house.
it's
None of that is
not-
in your pantry right now. I don't
It's like,
think
what are we
it's in
doing
my
here?
pantry.
Tomato soup?
Honestly, like if I went into a place and they told me all they had was tomato soup,
The soup of the day is tomato. I would
Yeah,
leave. I would
yeah,
walk right
I'd
out.
be like-
I'd be
I'd be like,
this place
something's-
is not
something's
for
wrong
me.
here. yeah,
There's certain
be like
things
It's
I
a
Yeah.
question.
dying soup. It's
that'd
a
be like
dying
some
Yeah.
soup.
get out type stuff.
That's
There's some
somebody
things I
gave
question,
up
like-
on that. The chef was like, nah. Today
I
is
question
tomato.
things like, why did you decide to put those little crunchy seed things in the middle of jelly donuts? Like for what? Like what does that do for the jelly donut?
I
Who
don't
decided
know
it was a good idea to make a sugar plum? Like these are things that like, why is fruitcake a thing?
Hey, you know what's
Oh,
funny
Dude.
is
gross.
I actually had
Fruitcake,
potato
though.
salad with raisins in it the other day ish.
Stop, dude. Please.
I did.
No
Isn't
more
that
in
a
this
My
conversation.
stereotype of white
stepmother-
people making their potato
shit,
salad
It
with
is.
raisins?
It is. Yeah.
Shit, you're not.
No, my mother-in-law
stepmother
makes
used
it
to
with
put
apples,
nutmeg,
and I'll be mad.
Nutmeg, cinnamon, carrots, almonds, and raisins all together.
And potato salad?
I hated it. No, it was
My-
like
my mother-in-law
it
makes
was
it
a
with
salad,
apples.
not with potatoes. Yeah,
What
it
about
had all
grapes?
kinds of weird stuff in it like
So
that. It was
here-
like some
here's
kind of
the
weird
worst part of
fruit
this
vegetable
potato salad. The worst part of this potato salad, which is the unspoken stereotype of white people's potato salad. Does anyone know what the next
Mayo.
worst part?
The
Uh,
lack of paprika?
Well, that's a good one. That's a
It
good
was
one.
dry. It was a dry salad.
It was the potatoes were not cooked all the way through.
Oh, that's the worst. Like,
No, I'm gonna
like,
tell you my
what's
worst
the
white people
point
food
then?
experience.
Okay.
My first white people food experience is I was working at the hospital and we had a drug lunch. And like I'm like, oh cool, I'll have the tuna sub. And I took the tuna sub and I bit into it and I'm like, what is happening to my life? They put grapes,
Oh.
bruh. Like these finely sliced grapes mixed in with the tuna. I'm like, why would you do this?
What?
Like, who sat down and was like, I need to cook
they
grapes?
wrote a book
I've
about
seen
that.
peas in tuna salad too, or tuna fish like melts, and I'm like, what are you putting peas in this?
They
I want to say
they-
for
they
the
wrote a-
listening audience, when I say white people food, I'm really joking because I'm a foodie. I eat food all over the world.
They
I
wrote
love,
they wrote a book
so I'm
about.
joking about.
They wrote a book about putting
I had
those
to say that
grapes
the
in
other
your.
day when I said
your tuna
oatmeal
salad.
cookie was.
They say that again, Mike.
They wrote a book about putting those grapes in your tuna salad.
Are you serious or are you messing with me?
No, I'm serious. It's called The Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, stop, dude, stop. Because I was feeling some type of way. I literally bit into it and was like, what happened? What's my life is. There's
That's
some
gross.
some serious things happening in my life at this moment.
That is gross.
So Erica, what's up with that?
With grapes and tuna salad?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had tuna since I was 12. My mom didn't make it with anything. She put celery in it. Is that normal?
That's normal.
I've seen
Not
that.
for me, but people do put celery in it. Yeah.
I have
That's-
had vegan tuna salad that had grapes in it, and it did seem strange,
Mike?
but I did feel like it added something tasty.
Mike,
What?
I'm leaving the floor to you.
Vegan tuna salad with grapes? I mean, I'm not a huge tuna salad person, but the sweetness, I don't know. I think it can be done without. I don't think
What's
the sweetness is.
That's where I'm
tuna
at.
made out of?
What's that?
That's where I'm at.
What's the vegan tuna made out of though?
It could be made out of a few things.
Sometimes
Jackfruit.
sometimes-
If it's jackfruit and
Yeah.
grapes, I'm down with that. That's good.
Really?
I can do that. Yeah, that's
Why?
good. That tastes.
Why?
Because it's sweet and sour. The jackfruit.
Oh, okay,
and,
okay.
You know. and the grapes,
There is a
but
place that
that's not
does
the same
that
as
does it with
tuna.
jackfruit. You know,
Yeah,
my
I
thing with
can see doing
jackfruit is
that.
a lot of people. I don't like how they prepare it. This Jamaican place
Right.
prepares it. The
Oh,
best,
I bet. With
They got this
some of the
sweet and
jerk
sour-
spices.
They got this sweet and sour tomato sauce kind of thing.
I made some good tamales with jackfruit, and it was good. You just cook it the
Yeah.
way you traditionally would cook a tamale in the sauce
Yeah.
with the, you know.
Yeah, I've been to some
It's good.
Mexican. Yeah, I've had some Mexican food that I think they did their jackfruit okay. But I think the best is the Jamaicans like really know.
Like you gotta
will
fry
say-
it the right way. Well, you know.
When I
Oh.
bring home a tuna salad with grapes in it, Jimmy loses his shit. He's like, "What the fuck are these grapes doing in here?"
Really?
So
Yeah, man.
some people have some strong opinions on that.
Yeah, people don't like mixing their sweet and savory unless it's being done with a real purpose and a science in mind.
Right.
My other theory on tomato soup is it's kind of like a rich person's soup.
Really?
I don't know.
I think the
That's-
most
I
common kind
think,
of tomato
like,
soup is Campbell.
Vichyssoise is the richest person's soup. Like Vichyssoise is like gross to me. Like
I don't know what that
I
is.
had a soup.
That's
I had a
potato
soup.
leek soup kind of.
Ooh, that's good.
Oh yeah,
I
I
that,
like
that could be pretty
that. That's the like elitist soup when I think of like, ooh,
So
I'm fancy.
So I had a soup last summer. And again, that's why I was prefacing when I say white people food, I'm joking because I lived all over the world. I like food from all, like I do. I think every culture brings something great to the table.
good. Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I had a soup that I'd never had before last summer. And I want to make sure I'm getting the name right. I think it's called like wedding bell soup or like
Oh yeah,
Got like
I know what
sausage
you're
and
talking
stuff in it.
about.
Like
Yeah,
potato and
yeah.
sausage.
it had
and
like
stuff?
these weird bowl shaped oversized pastas.
It's
Oh, yeah.
not Italian wedding soup. It's something like
Italian
this.
wedding.
Is it
Yo,
Italian wedding soup? I thought.
wow,
it was that,
what
but I
a
wasn't.
great soup. It was so good. And I'm like, I'll try anything I'll try once because I'm a foodie. It's me and my daughter's thing. Like I'll try anything except for a human being. Anything that you can cook and eat, I'll try.
You
You know what I
never
mean?
know.
That is acceptable to eat. Yeah, I'll try. I'm not eating people. That's never happening.
So I read up on the traditional, stereotypical lack of spices on white people's food, and this
How they
article
like unseasoned salt.
yeah. So, what I read was this came from some bougie type shit where there was kind of like this minimalist wave where they felt like the meat should like cook in its own juices, and they started looking down on over spicing food as if that was something like
that was for the minorities.
Yeah, exactly. Like almost like how someone would look at you if you put too much ketchup on your fries, like that's just nasty and you have like bad taste, you know. And you
Why
just
do you
not
put so
like.
much pepper in this?
So it came from like them writing this like minimalist wave of like, no, this is like good meat that's been cooking in its own juices. We don't need to spice it too much, like, you know, blah blah blah.
So Thanksgiving became whole kernel corn and string beans and
cranberries from the can.
String beans. Have you
Cooked
ever
carrots.
cooked string beans with like a boatload of garlic and like some sesame oil
You
and
better put your
No, I'm not
almonds in
hating
the
on
green
that.
beans.
I always hate on like there's certain things that I hate on from all cultures, and what white people like to do is they like this mixed vegetable thing where it's like weird because
Normandy
it's like
salad.
whole kernel corn
Succotash?
and like
Succotash?
peas and like square cut carrots and
Normandy
you know what I
salad.
mean?
You know what it is?
No
It's that-
seasoning.
It's that frozen
Normandy
vegetable
salad
thing.
is
So
called.
this has happened to me multiple times before where people, they know that vegans eat vegetables, but they don't
That's what
know
you're
that
getting.
we season our vegetables. So
It's
multiple
plain.
times I've been like on a film set and they have craft services and they have a meal for all the actors and like they have good meals for everybody else. And then for me, they literally took that bag of frozen vegetables with like carrots and then
the
they
square
cook
cut
it and they don't
carrots.
season that shit. Like
That's just in a
I don't-
casserole bowl.
It's just
I
like
don't know what
water.
that is.
It's water and like whole kernel corn, like square cut
and
carrots.
that's why people come to you and they're like, whoa,
It's-
you're a vegetarian or vegan. How could you eat like that? It's like, because they don't season their vegetables. They don't know that vegetables are allowed to taste good.
And
See,
the
that's
problem
a
is
problem,
they use
though. That's
they
a
use
problem.
like genetic vegetables, like not
Or,
Yeah.
even like the
just
frozen.
plain
No.
vegetables.
You know what? This is true. Now, here's the interesting thing. Like, since I've been shopping more and eating fresh vegetables, like if you eat fresh vegetables, like you don't really need to like cook them or do anything fancy to
I
them.
eat them right
They
off
taste-
the damn vine.
yeah, they
taste
taste good.
amazing.
They taste
Well,
good.
that's what I was gonna speak to when you said because I don't have a bland flavor palette as like a super taster with super sensitive taste buds, and my daughter's the same way. I
Mhm.
definitely don't have a bland flavor palette. But speaking of what you were speaking to about the minimalist thing, like I don't have a problem. One of the first things I want to do is taste a cut of meat unseasoned because I can taste the flavor of the meat. It doesn't mean I don't want it seasoned. And same with vegetables. You know, I'm not a big broccoli eater, but if I'm eating broccoli, like before, I season or my wife season it, I want to eat it as is. You understand what I'm saying? And because I do appreciate the flavor of how things taste. And then obviously I've seasoned things and, add a different flavor to it or what have you, but I certainly can appreciate the flavor of how, a thing tastes. You were going to say something to me about fruitcake, Erica.
Oh, yeah. So my grandmother, who passed away in May, I'm going to say May. She made some amazing fruitcake.
There is no such thing as amazing.
No, it was good. Like,
was it traditional fruitcake or is it like some
with the fake plastic candies?
Was there nuts?
Yeah, no, like because
nuts and fake plastic candies.
Banana bread is fruitcake. Like whether you want to admit it or not, if you
talking
like banana
Christmas
bread,
fruitcake.
No, it's a Christmas fruit.
Not necessarily.
It's like banana bread with plastic candies in it.
Right, that's what I'm saying. There is a banana.
You know what
bread.
I'm talking about? The stereotypical Christmas food cake that's like a hodgepodge of like, everything that we had left over and some alcohol.
Nutmeg, raisins.
It's got like raisins and like
it's
these
round,
red and green.
It's like got a hole in the middle,
cherries.
right? It's like a donut shape.
With
it's
like a bundt cake.
Donut shape.
Sometimes it's brick shaped.
Oh, right.
She would make it and then mail it out to everybody, and it was good. Like legit good.
It had the funny glazed green and red cherry.
Pecan,
She was doing you a
Candy
vegan.
cherries.
She was doing you a vegan version too.
pecan banana.
No, totally not doing me a vegan version. So when she still kept sending them, even though because I can't eat it now because
Oh.
I got diagnosed with celiac disease back in
Yeah.
like 20 something 2010. I don't fucking remember 2008 maybe. And so she would keep sending them, but I couldn't eat them anymore. So I would just like give them to friends, and they would be like, "This is good."
Yeah.
So I actually haven't eaten it since I
Birthday.
was probably like in middle school, but like.
They didn't want
But
to
your
eat
friends
it. They
have
thought
been-
you were pranking them, right?
Your friends have been enjoying it.
Yeah, and they genuinely enjoyed it.
They didn't want to use it as like
I think
paperweight
it's
or.
different than it's the fruitcake that you're thinking of, Ish. Because
I'm thinking of
I-
Christmas fruitcake.
That's
Yeah,
what she
but
made it on Christmas time.
yeah, she made it during Christmas time, but it's not. It's probably better than like the brick of fruitcake that he's thinking of.
I've never had any other
Because-
fruitcake but hers.
But hers had legit fruit in it, right? And
No, it
like,
had the weird little gummy candy fruits in it.
yeah, but those are
the
like
candy cherries.
there's candied cherry, like they're maraschino cherries or whatever that they use. I think traditionally.
Delicious. It was delicious.
Yeah, they can't. There's like green and red ones that they. Yeah, I don't get it. Just like
Well,
ricotta cheese. I once said on one of my Facebook status that if thrush was a food item, it would be ricotta cheese.
here's something I feel really
Jeez.
strongly about is flour tortillas. Like, if you're serving me a flour tortilla, fuck you.
Get the
I'm
hell
not
out of
eating
here!
that shit.
Yeah, get the hell out of here with that.
And
Right,
furthermore, I will
don't-
not eat a tortilla that's not made fresh.
They got to be real ones. I don't like. There's
Wait,
like
what's not real about a flour tortilla?
it's flour. It's corn.
For
so
one, it's
Oh.
traditional Mexican tortillas are corn. And
Oh, right.
also,
right.
the corn tortilla that you know of that's hard, that was invented by Taco Bell. It's a
And that's
tostada, and Taco Bell was like, if we fold this, we can
Right.
make this.
They're
Okay.
traditionally they're flattened and they're like around. They're more less crispy and more like almost like a bread, and not they're still a they're still flat.
Oh
They're
yeah.
bread.
I got
That's
you. I
that's
got
the
you.
tradition.
Interesting.
And sometimes they're black bean.
Oh yeah, those are awesome.
Crushed black bean. Those ones are really good, but traditionally they're not crispy like that. They're not. That's when they toast them, or when you deep fry them, and it's taquito then.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned Taco Bell creating that particular version, because Taco Bell was, interestingly enough, is very innovative in that the fast food restaurant formula was created by Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And actually sold. They allowed McDonald's and Wendy's and one other restaurant to buy into that process. It was a formula that they
Oh,
created.
I didn't know
Taco
they
Bell.
were around before
Yep.
McDonald's.
Yeah, as a fast food chain, they're the actual the creators of the concept of a chain restaurant.
There's no Taco Bells in
franchise.
Mexico, but when you cross
Yeah,
the border, like the border right over here, as soon as you get across, there's a Taco Bell right there.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
On the
Mike, I
American
spent a
side.
lot of time when Google came out interesting every stupid thing that I ever wanted to know about, like the history of soda, for instance. Like I've read all about the soda wars or pop wars, and you know what I mean, and things like that. And
Sounds
like
pretty. That sounds pretty sticky.
that's funny. And things like chocolate, and the guys who popularized Hershey were literally trying to they wanted people to stop drinking alcohol. They wanted to have an alternative to something that was addictive. I'm not talking about, like, chocolate's been popular throughout history, but commercialized in America.
Yeah. Hershey.
Their reasons were an alternative towards alcohol and coffee, actually.
To eat chocolate bar.
Actual chocolate is,
Cornflakes is an interesting story.
well, chocolate is like pretty nasty until you put sugar in it.
Cornflakes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
right?
cornflake
It's
story.
bitter and gross. Yeah, Erica knows.
Mhm.
What's that?
I don't want to
Cornflakes?
just talk. Yeah, why cornflakes were invented originally.
Oh, I don't know the
Yeah.
story behind that.
They're to prevent young men from, playing with themselves.
Oh, eat
That's
cornflakes
right.
and be sterile.
It will not be
They-
sterile. Take your sexual drive down. That's what
I was about to say
scientists.
how, like, if I have to eat cornflakes or
doesn't-
masturbate, I'm gonna choose masturbation every day of the week. Like,
Well,
there's,
they thought
there's
trying,
by
they were
no way.
eating them. That they thought by eating them it would. I don't know. They had
Like,
some
here's a
weird
fun
science behind
alternative
it.
to
Yeah, they thought it was
cornflakes.
gonna.
Well, it was the food. It was there was like a chemical in the corn or something that the scientists had determined that it would prevent them from doing it, or like
Why
I
would
don't
you
think
not
it was
want
salt.
a man or a woman to just masturbate? Like, it's healthy.
Religion.
It was.
I mean, yeah, come on.
different
You
time.
don't remember religion and
You
all
don't
that
remember
stuff?
how these people? They didn't want people drinking alcohol. The ridiculous country we live in. Everybody
mean,
better have a gun, though.
It's funny that people say, "Oh, America was founded on freedom," but they forget that it was founded on the freedom to be like weirdly, freakishly religious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we just got away from someone else's religion, right?
Yes, the religion in England wasn't strict enough for them, so they were like, "We want to practice our religion
We want
more
whip
militantly
people.
It's
and
the,
more
that
we
obsessively."
need, everybody
puritanical.
wearing the same
Yeah.
clothes for Santa to go.
And there was like, "Oh, freedom of religion, that's American." It's like, no, they wanted to be free to do their weird ass, like super Christian free religion. That's what they wanted.
Burn witches.
Yeah.
You gotta have witch. If there wasn't witch burning, I don't think we'd have a country.
Now when you think about it, when you talk about, like, the whole masturbation thing, and they have these superstitions like hair on your palms and going blind, and I love the Alanis Morissette lyric where she's like, my brothers, they never went blind for what they did, but I may as well have, because she's like, yeah. And I get what you're saying, because that whole Catholic trope that if you masturbate you'll go blind. It was like a religious way of keeping people from engaging in that activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying.
You'll grow hair on your
what it was.
palms, and you know what I mean, like all these things. And it's interesting how, and even when you look at like how marijuana was perceived in the 50s and 60s, what's the famous video that they made about marijuana?
Reefer
Reefer
Madness.
Madness.
Reefer Madness.
Love
You know
that
what I mean?
video.
Like, they really
Yeah,
went
but
to
you know what? That wasn't
extremes.
even, that was like made illegal right around that time, wasn't it?
What's that? Marijuana?
Marijuana wasn't always illegal. It was made illegal.
No,
like,
it was the reason they made it illegal was like it had to do with DuPont and the hemp.
And hemp and cotton, the cotton industry.
Yeah, the DuPont wanted to make synthetics, so their lobbyists were like, "This stuff's bad,"
Well, that's because hemp was going to kill the cotton industry.
Right. And it was around like I think it was World War I or II, and they were I think it was II, because they were making parachutes, and the hemp parachutes probably would have been a better design, and it would have been more quality, but DuPont was like, "No, we need to make it." That's like what Catch-22 is kind of about. It's like about how the military spending is set up just to keep spending, is to keep, it doesn't matter that like the one dude's got an industry in that book, M&M industry, and so like he's like taking the parachutes and selling them, and so like he's like, here's he's like, write them a stock in M&M Industries, and instead of their parachute, it's like crazy shit like that.
Well, I mean, the military definitely is prone to take contracts from the lowest bidders.
Right. Well, that's kind of like, that's what you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't kind of mentality. That's what the book is like. The promise of it is, and then it's like the whole structure of it is so that you keep spending. It's that it's never ending.
also a little bit of racism that made weed illegal. They were just trying to.
Right. But that's just a whole.
In what way?
Because it's from
Um,
Mexico.
Yeah, they actually changed the name of it to make it sound more Mexican.
Yeah.
The name of what?
of marijuana.
Marijuana.
They changed it to
Mm.
ganja, right? To make it, or was it? I don't remember.
It
I
was
just read a
reefer
book
and
on it.
I was about to say
ganja.
because marijuana sounds pretty Mexican.
Yeah.
Maybe they changed
Yeah,
it from
they-
reefer to marijuana.
Mm.
It was something like that. It was here. I could look that up. I was just looking up the cornflakes thing and talking about how he proved that they worked on his test subjects or something weird like that. All right. And
Oh, because they could have called it. They could have just called it cannabis. They started calling it marijuana.
right. It
Yeah.
was cannabis, but okay. Many experts surmise the substantial and circumstantial evidence that petrochemical industry and DuPont in particular was the force behind the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937. Because they had just invented cellophane with petroleum, and it was become the standard packaging. Well, its competition was the hemp fiber for plastics and synthetic nylons. Yeah, so it was like World War II, around like 37.
Mm.
I'll look that up.
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
reading a book about
It comes
it.
down to oil.
And now
It really comes down to oil, you know.
Puritanism rearing its head in commerce and
I mean, it's part of the reason I think that Americans are such workaholics. It's like back to the puritanical foundations of the country.
obviously our capitalist mechanisms at play as well.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at like
Well,
education.
you make people want stuff that they don't really even need.
Well, it's not even that, right? Like the whole goal of industry based upon capitalism is to produce people that can be captains or propel industry. So our educational system, at least throughout the 20th century, has changed 3 times based upon the whatever vehicle is that's driving industry. When we perfected the assembly line, our educational system became geared towards producing people that got out of high school and went to work in a factory.
Right.
When we got into the computer age, our educational system changed that, you know, so that it's geared towards those who excel at the highest level can get out and get into a field that, you know, is computer related. We're not talking about just the average student. You know what I mean? We're talking about, you know, the people who excel at the highest levels. But because our educational system changed, I want to say in the late 60s into the 70s, when we discovered the CPU, that was like a big, and again, our educational system isn't really geared for the purposes of giving us a complete education. It's geared for giving us the type of education that can create products that push capitalism, that can drive industry. And whatever it is, whatever vehicle it is at a given time. Now it's computers. And the early to mid part of the 20th century, it was the assembly line.
Hey, has anyone ever heard of cannabis ruderalis?
Yeah, you can't smoke it. It sucks. It gives you headaches. A lot of times when you smoke, you have indica, sativa, and ruderalis. I know because I used to grow this stuff like for years. So ruderalis is, a lot of times people will sell you ruderalis, right? And it'll give you headaches and you don't get high at all because it's like really bushweed.
Okay.
Ruderalis is the third type of marijuana. It's just not a smokable type. I mean, you're just not going to get high and you're going to get a headache.
Where does it grow? And like
People grow
southern
it.
Siberia?
Yeah, cannabis ruderalis.
It's like Russia?
It's like flowery. That you can use it for yeast or for
Yeah, but
cosmetics.
people will sell it to you.
Yeah.
It's higher in CBD, I guess.
Yeah, but it's we can't break it down.
Yeah, there's hardly any THC in it though.
Tetrahydrocannabinol. So what happens is you get headaches.
Yeah.
that's why no one really popularizes. You
That's
can't
why no
sell.
one's really heard of it.
Yeah, you can sell indica, you can sell sativa, you can't sell ruderalis.
Well, they say that you can.
Like
They say
ditch
that you
weed.
can use it to help grow your other weed, like depending on how you plant it, like
if
auto.
you feminize it or whatever.
I
Uh,
only learned about it,
Uh,
Mike, in the
word.
early 2000s. Otis
Mhm.
and I had like a farm.
Okay.
So when Otis, I don't know if you met Otis's cousin Chip.
Yeah, I remember Chip.
So Chip, me and Chip, Chip and Otis took all our money together and we bought clones of Durban Poisons, which is an African breed.
Okay.
And they started calling me Dr. Mindbender because the operation was at my house. So
Okay.
I just like fully immersed myself in how to grow marijuana. You know what I mean? Like I bought books and did all kind of research, and I was checking like pH balances, and you understand what I'm saying? And I was like, for like 5 or 6 years, like I was just growing, high grade. We took 10 Durban Poisons and I turned it into a farm.
I like these bonsais. Like I'm gonna. Oh my god, that's what I'm doing. Bonsai this shit. I didn't know you could do it because I didn't think it had enough wood content to
So
Oh, it'll grow bark if you let it. Like I let
Right,
my
that's what I'm
Durbans grow to a
saying. Like
point
this is insane.
it had a base and it had grew bark. But the problem is when you bonsai it, right? So I don't know what your point would be because you lose weed because
You're right.
like you want to
I'm
grow.
looking at it though. It looks cool.
You want so many grams per
Yeah.
wattage of light, right? So like
Yeah.
it looks good, but
It
what
looks
you harvest
it
it?
looks so cool. Yeah, right. You're not gonna get the
What were you gonna say, Erica?
I was gonna say, I'm actually reading this book that was given to me, written by like a friend of a friend of a friend, about hemp, and it says recreational marijuana was made illegal in 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, and it was the Harry Anslinger, the first commissioner of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics. That's when they renamed cannabis marijuana. Because they thought
they
it
were
would
hating
sound...
on they were hating on jazz singers and on Mexican
Right.
ones.
Yeah,
At the same time.
They're like
it would sound
they were
more
like talking about
dangerous. People were scared of Mexico, so they felt like it would sound more dangerous if it was called marijuana, and
Yeah.
that would freak people out.
and if you heard somebody playing jazz.
And at the time of it being made illegal, there were multiple medical authorities that had approved it for medical use and had like records of its medical effectiveness.
That's why I always play jazz in my house.
And then they also started taxing hemp farmers at the same time, really high taxes on hemp farmers. So it wasn't illegal to grow hemp at the time. It was just unprofitable because of the taxes.
Man, this
Now look at
country, I
us.
tell you.
Now we're swimming in plastic.
The things that we had to do to become great.
Yeah.
This
I
country.
mean, hemp was like a major crop at that time. So it was like really
Prohibition.
economical.
You could use it for anything. Like it's durable. It's rope. It's like I
Clothing.
usually buy rope. Right, your clothes can be made out of it.
Bedding, clothing.
The great thing about it is it's what's the word?
It's biodegradable.
You know how like it's biodegradable, but it's there's a thing. It has like a property to it that keeps it from like some of your clothes, like your cotton, can get mites in it and can get like a certain germ. There's something in hemp that keeps it resilient to germs, and it's also shields radiation, which a lot of people don't even know about. They've done studies on it in Chernobyl, that when you plant crops of hemp, it'll suck the radiation right out of the fields.
I have a hemp bathrobe that I've had for about 15 years, and it doesn't get mildewy at all. Like I can
Right, that's what
use
it resists mildew. It resists this there's other thing. I'm trying to remember what the terminology is, but it's a bacteria that it can't. There's certain bacteria that just can't. It's too resilient of a crop, and like the ancient Chinese believe that it was, and it's been proven that its DNA does not exist on this. It's not originated on this planet. It was brought here by another entity. God,
Stop.
whatever.
Stop.
No, look it up. Look all
Stop.
this stuff.
Well,
Look
now
it
we're
all
going
up.
crazy.
No, its DNA is not earthbound.
I was with you.
DNA.
I was
Look it
with
up.
you until
Look
there.
it up. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up
Well, I
right
can look
now.
anything up
All
and
the way-
find someone that'll say it's true.
All the way till it was brought here by another entity. You're like, hold on.
Okay. Oh,
Now, if you
look
just
up the
said,
Yellow
if
Dynasty.
you just
Look
said,
up the
if
Yellow
you just said,
Dynasty in China and
well, I'm
their
super
beliefs
versed
on
on
it.
Chinese history. It's like my favorite thing. But if you would have said,
Well,
you know, maybe a meteorite or a moon rock crashed, you know, something,
no,
maybe. You know
there were
what I mean?
other ways to say it that would have been more credible
no,
for sure.
no, but those ways wouldn't be the truth, though. And I'm
Other
only gonna
entity
talk about
would constitute like
entities.
a asteroid,
Like
you
a
know, maybe a
what?
small asteroid with some pimp on it.
It could be
You know what I mean?
anything. Could be anything. Could be green men from the clan, Xenon. I don't know.
Hashtag stop it. I'm with you, Erica. Like, man, I'm messing with you. Trust me, but
Oh, I'm
I
just
have to.
saying that there's
I
a
have to
lot
mess
of
with
you have to look at a lot of the way agriculture develops in this country, or I mean in this entire
I mean,
world.
I'm with you. Green men, green plants. Like, you know, I see the link.
Well, I mean, it's they can take the DNA and they can determine that it's like even human DNA. Some parts of it are not from this planet; they're extraterrestrial.
But how do they know that it does?
I don't know
Like,
that it's all like when you study something, you like certain things are
but it's related to
100%. What do you mean related to it? Well,
It's
humans
related to
are related.
cannabis.
Humans and marijuana both are uniquely entwined in like we have a system
because we
that
produce THC.
right. It's a system, a cannabinoid system inside of us.
Yeah.
And so obviously this plant was put here, or I'm not, it was maybe not put here's the best word, but this plant came here with us. You know what I'm saying? Wherever we came from, it was with us.
When we were seeded by Mars, they made sure that
by whatever
that hemp
seeded
was in the
us.
capsule.
Some people call it God. Some people, it could have been some other. Like God is just an alien. Even if you believe that he's, the creator, he's still not human. He's still an extraterrestrial.
I just got my ballot in the mail.
Oh yeah. So you gotta vote
Kanye
for
is
it.
on here.
You
Really?
spell Trump TRUMP.
Kanye's on there.
Let me
They
see.
got Trump at the top, Trump's
Uh-huh.
there, and Biden's down there. Kanye's somewhere in the middle there. Do you see him?
What?
No, I don't
Where-
see Kanye. I see
Hold on, wait a
I think
Omarion.
that's Kanye.
Wait, I see
there.
Omarion is on there.
Yeah, it says Kanye Omari West.
Oh, Kanye Omari. Let me see again.
Did you check that Kanye box?
Wait, I can't. You gotta talk so it'll put you in the middle. Talk, Erica, so it'll put you.
Okay, yeah. So I'm talking so that I'm featured.
Kanye Omari West, I see, with Rocky.
Mhm.
Rocky and Kanye. I don't know who this Rocky is.
Maybe Kanye doesn't even know.
Come on. now.
He probably doesn't.
There's a lot of it's Biden's at the very bottom, Trump's at the very top of the way it's
Why would it do it like that? And you're in California, right?
yeah.
That makes no sense.
There's 6 candidates I get to
care.
choose from for president. I choose
I would
6
love
options.
to see Kanye show up at those debates.
Oh my God.
You ain't got the answers. You ain't got the answers. Yeah, I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish, but
You ain't got the answer, Sway.
This is always really confusing. Like for our 51st district representative, both the candidates, the Democrat and the Republican, are both named Juan. So if you're like, okay, this year I'm going to vote for Juan, and you just click it, they're both Juan. It's Juan Hidalgo as the Republican and Juan Vargas as the Democrat for our district U.S. representative. So you really got to know which one you're wanting to vote for.
All right, that was a pun. Was that no pun intended there?
No pun intended.
For Juan or Juan 1 or Juan 2.
Yeah.
Now we're being ethnocentric and
Well, I wasn't really making a pun at all. I was just talking about Juan and
Oh,
Juan.
okay,
But you guys
okay.
found a pun.
Yeah,
She said you gotta really know which one you want.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's the best
You
one
roll
I
the
got.
tape
want to
back.
vote for.
You roll this tape back.
If you can't get the wand, you
You
want,
You go
then
for the
love
other
the wand. You're with.
one you're with. Yo, this
I
is
never
bad.
see.
This is
I
really
only
bad.
ever see Juan Hidalgo sign.
Come on.
All I know
now.
about Juan Hidalgo, the Republican, is that he's always faithful, according to his signs. I don't know if that means religious, but I don't know.
He's a Marine.
He could be
He could be a
basically
Marine.
stealing your money. You can be a faithful thief.
If you can't get the one you want.
There are 20. Do you guys have this in New York State? There are 25 ballot measures to
We don't have
to
ballot
vote
measures.
Man,
You don't have 'em?
We don't vote.
No.
We don't care about the rest of this country. You guys are all burning down. We're just gonna clean up after.
Yeah, let's speak about that. How is really the state of things in California? I know we touched on it briefly. I think the
So,
first shows.
well, I mean, so it's interesting because we always have a wildfire season. It usually doesn't affect as many people as it has affected this year in terms of, it's not even just the fire itself, it's the smoke. So for us, we had a wildfire about 10 miles from us that was burning for 3 or 4 days. It was only 17,000 acres, but it was like snowing ash in our backyard. So for that couple of days, we just kind of stayed inside. But then when that fire was out, our sky was gray for a week and the air quality was like, unhealthy air quality, don't go outside for a week. And it wasn't even from our fires near us. Like there was one in LA County that's close to us. It was supposedly the fires in San Francisco were blowing it down here and the marine layer was holding it over our sky. So it was like, normally there's a wildfire season. I don't notice it unless I go for a drive and see the fire in the distance. This year, it was very noticeable so far.
I heard they had to use they brought in helicopters to like SoFi Stadium where the Rams were playing because it was so foggy and they couldn't even like tape the damn game, which is absurd to me.
I don't know about that.
Well,
But
I took some.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's something that if you live here, you get so comfortable with it and so used to it, it just becomes a part of daily life. There was like this Instagram influencer that everybody was mad at because she took like a picture with the orange sky in San Francisco as her background. But it's like, I guarantee all the people that were mad at her did not live in San Francisco because everybody in San Francisco was probably out living their lives, not even paying attention to the fact the sky was orange.
It looked like Blade Runner.
Well,
Yeah, it
that's
just
what I
becomes
was
part of
gonna say,
life.
because that's what I was going to say, because I took criticism because a couple people posted pictures about they posted pictures about how difficult it is for like the firefighters. The one picture was the firefighters out there like sleeping out there day and night, and someone else posted a picture who's in Oregon about how much they're affected by it, and both times I commented on both pictures because these pictures were beautiful. Like the sky was beautiful to me, and I'm like, it sucks that it's such a tragic reason why, but like this, and they're like, oh, that's all you can think about, and I'm like, no, I'm not. I did, I wasn't just paying lip service when I'm saying like the reason behind it sucks. Like it sucks. I feel for, I can't even imagine I've never been in a situation like that. But you're showing me these pictures, and wow, I feel horrible because I'm looking at these pictures like, wow, it's beautiful. Not the circumstance, right? Like, of course not. It's horrible.
Nature can be both beautiful and tragic at the same time.
Right.
Beautiful
Thank you.
horrifying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So for us, like
acknowledging both.
every night the sun was like this crazy shade of pink, and it was gorgeous. But it was because of wildfire smoke that it was
This
pink.
poison in the air.
Yeah, but it was beautiful. It was the coolest thing. It was fascinating. And then, the ash falling from the sky. Yeah, there was ash falling from our sky, but isn't this an interesting thing that's happening, It was both tragic and just fascinating at the same time.
Yeah, I'd see these pictures with these blood orange skies, and they'd be like, it's like 4 p.m. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that is like, it's gorgeous and it
It was
sucks
crazy.
at the same time. You know what I mean?
It was starting to get kind of frustrating because I have asthma. So like when the air quality starts to dip, I notice it right away. So for me, I have a backyard, so I can go outside without a mask on without having to worry about running into people. But I couldn't for the last like week and a half because of the air quality. So every time I went outside, I would put on like a good mask, and like, you know, my lungs were terrible. And for like a week, I was getting nosebleeds from all this crap in the air. And it starts to make you think like how much I thought climate change was going to affect us a lot. I thought I would have more time. But if this is the new
That's what
normal,
everybody thought.
yeah. But
Well,
then as soon as it clears up, you forget.
They kept telling us in 10 years it'll be, too late. So it's finally.
It's finally
It has been 10 years,
it's been
yeah.
10 years, right?
Yeah.
Like that's when we all worked together, and we are all, things just time moved too quickly, and nobody did a damn thing. And now everybody's like, what do we do now? And there's really nothing we can do.
Well, humans are quick to adjust to this. Like people in California adjust very quickly to the fact that everything's on fire, and they just slightly modify their lifestyle and kind of like live with it.
They adjusted. They didn't. There's no solution.
Exactly.
No.
It's an
And
interesting thing to
here's
say
part
that
of it.
they've adjusted to the idea that everything is on fire.
Well, here's the thing I've been saying for a long time that I haven't heard even dealt with or like acknowledged yet is as long as we live in a system where we have to depend on good people to do something about the environment, we're going to be screwed. Because even if someone does something, 4 years later or 8 years later, we're in a new regime, they can just reverse everything. We've got to give like the IPCC or whoever power to like adjust the way we move. Like we've got to be able to like.
It's legislation, right? So
yeah, we got to be able to kill
legislation.
We got to be able to like kill legislation or move legislation, but not even just in the U.S., right? Because like other countries are going to affect this too. Like the International Panel on Climate Change has to be able to, ratify like treaties or whatever you call them that are going to make us do certain things. Otherwise, like the planet's doomed.
Well, that's the crazy thing about this country. It's never gonna sail because everybody, as soon as you start talking like that, all people think of is communists.
Well, I mean, I think
the planet is doomed, though.
Change happens, it just happens too slowly.
So here's what I think, and it's a theory, and it might even be as preposterous as like green men. So when you say the planet being doomed, I wonder if you mean the planet as in the planetary population, because for me, I've always felt like we're in a situation where at some point, like Earth is going to go on with or without us.
Life will survive. It'll just be different. We're not going to, we as the beings we are, we can't live.
That's what I mean. Like I believe the planet will go on. We may not go on.
We're going to last 100 years.
Well, yeah, I mean,
from now, that's about it.
For now, I'm speaking, while we're still here, I'm speaking for us.
The planet will get rid of us and start over.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the planet's, probably going to be here for tens of thousands or at least thousands of years. I'm talking about us for now.
So I would say like some of the stuff that we talked about when we were working on renewable energy back in like 2002, 2003 in Buffalo was making renewable energy affordable. So it's just the better option. Like our house is completely solar powered, and we're like an electric car / hybrid car. I have a hybrid, and Jimmy has an electric car. Mm-hmm. So we plug our car into the house, and it just feeds off the solar panels. But we didn't like do that necessarily because we wanted to save the world. It was the more economical option because in California they've made it cheap and logical to have solar panels.
Which
Okay.
is like that's the whole
Hold on, I just want to
idea.
ask a question really quick. Erica, is your real name Erica?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
I'm
Because I
surprised.
won't say.
I'm surprised you answered that.
I know.
I'm not
No,
the
I
one
mean,
that
you
has
know.
a problem with me existing on the internet, but my partner would prefer not to have much about him on the internet.
Well, no, we had
And
that
that's
conversation.
totally
We
respectable.
We
get
had that
we get
conversation earlier, which is why your name has changed on the screen.
Yeah, so we had this conversation earlier. Essentially, because of I'm in a entertainment based thing where people see me they're in the audience and see me on stage. If they hear my first and last name, there's going to be at least one person who is in the audience that becomes like a weird stalker that's sending me messages and asking me out on dates and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Hence your captain
happens
now.
to me all the time too. You know. Hate it. Hate
So
it.
that's why you're like I'm like captain, huh?
and I'm Erica.
Ah,
So making it cheap enough so that everyone would rather that other than an other energy source is good, but we still need other layers of protection, right? Because like a consumer base is not is one avenue. We need to cover all of our bases, I guess.
Like certain
And
things should
quickly.
just be illegal. They
Yeah,
just
off
like
the
we
table.
should just we can't. There's certain things we have to decide. You know, as a society, that this is absurd that we keep doing this. And
Yeah.
Well, California just passed a bill, for example, that said that no fossil fuel, all vehicles that are sold in California by 2035 have to be zero emissions.
Oh yeah, I think I did see that. That's good. I mean, New York is like New York has to step its game up. You know?
Yeah. I
That's
think
like
so.
why do we have to wait 20 years after California legalizes before we do? Like,
and
why
do
can't
it
we be
everything we should be at the forefront. Just
Yeah.
like that. Like
We should be like,
that stuff would get passed.
we need a
here
governor.
just as
We need a
especially
well.
because
governor.
New York is probably going to be the most difficult transition to that.
Right.
They
Yeah,
should
California
be way
has
ahead.
been doing that for a while in different ways. Like there's just one of the reasons we have an electric car is because California incentivizes you to have one.
Yeah. We need a governor who's going to be like, anything California can do, we can do better and sooner.
Yeah.
We need to do better and sooner.
I got a great slogan. That's how I'm gonna run. I'm gonna be like F California.
Well, one of the things
part of it
I
is-
think works is
I like
investing
that.
heavily in public transportation and
Well, that's what we don't do.
de-incentivizing the need to like. I think, and I'm only speaking about like when I lived in Frankfurt, when I lived in Germany, right? One of the things that they do, because they're really big on exactly what Eric is talking about with California, is when they're big on things like that. So they de-incentivize it costs the average person to get a driver's license over $1,000, which you can get everywhere on public transportation.
Right.
So they like de-incentivize getting a license because they would rather you not be driving. Yes, you can get a license. It's just not going to be cheap. And the test. It's 100. When I took the test, because you have to take the military test, but you also have to pass the German road test to drive in Germany. It's 100 questions, and if you get 3 wrong, you fail. Well, imagine if you failed $1,000 test. I didn't have to pay $1,000 because I was in the military. Right. But imagine if you're just a German citizen and you fail that $1,000 test. So when you take that test, you're gonna know. You're absolutely going to know, this information, and be prepared to drive, because how many people are coming up with $1,000 to pay for a road test, the written portion of a driver's test over and over again? So I kind of think
it's just a written portion.
That's just the written. That's just the written portion. To take the test, for a German citizen, it costs. And I might be exaggerating when I say 1,000. At the time, it was like 1,200 marks. So depending on the mark rate, anywhere from $800 to what I mean, $1,000 depending on the mark rate at the time. You know what I mean, the exchange rate. But it's still a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
For just to take the written portion of the test, and it's not an easy test. I was in the military, so we got to take it as many times as necessary because I'm in the military. We have to get licensed.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So, but
Mhm.
it's not an easy test. At least it's not an easy test for an American to take because it's you're talking European rules of the road and European road signs. You understand what I'm saying? So you really got to study. You're used to American. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I think disincentivizing the need or making it as like it shouldn't be so easy to get a driver's license, and not because you don't want not because people you're trying to say, oh, people don't deserve or aren't responsible, but just because if you look at it if we have less people, we just want people to have to need to drive less and make public transportation easier and more accessible, then we can kind of curb the need where everyone, like New York City is good on that. There are so many people who are in their 30s that just never had a driver's license because they never needed it.
Yeah.
But New York City is also so congested with traffic outside of public transportation. Like it's very congested. I think, making, public transportation across the boards in big cities across the boards more accessible, and then, eliminating the need for people to have a driver's license can kind of help as well.
Or imagine if healthy food were like dirt cheap.
Accessible and dirt cheap.
Accessible and dirt cheap.
Like it's
It
not
feels
even
weird
that
to kind
people
of
can't
endorse
afford it.
public transit during a pandemic, though. Doesn't it feel a little bit like, people are going to want to go in the opposite direction now?
No, you're right.
Big picture.
But
the bigger picture.
think about it. If we lived in a society where accessible public transit was the norm, we'd probably have other protocols in place because of the pandemic, right? Like we'd probably things that we probably can't think of because public transportation currently isn't as accessible.
It's pretty good in New York and Philly, though, and Chicago.
It is great in New York. I can't speak for Philly. I can certainly speak for the limited time in Chicago. New York was as great as public transportation wise, as great as, like, Frankfurt, Germany was the best city I've ever lived in for public transportation, and New York is very close. But
I'm sure it was a lot cleaner.
Frankfurt isn't.
I'm sure it was a lot cleaner in Germany.
Well, because again, there's not nearly as much traffic we're talking top 5 city in the world, right? Frankfurt and New York are both top 5, but there's so much less congestion traffic wise in Frankfurt than there is in New York.
Yeah. Well, it's
and
also
when I say
a cultural.
top 5, I'm talking as far as financial capitals. You know what I mean? Your Londons, your Tokyos, your New York.
It's also a cultural thing too. People just got comfortable dumping shit on the street and just being nasty. Unfortunately.
Yeah, they have laws against that too. Like Germany is really strict on a lot of things. Like you can't have like genetically altered produce at all. They don't want it in their country.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. Like no Monsanto corn. That's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They're really big on things like that. Very clean. Like they're so clean. They have 3 recycle, like they have dumpsters. Like you don't get recycle bins. They have dumpsters, and there's 3, and you have to put different color plastic or glass in the right container. Greens going greens.
They do that in San Francisco. There's some restaurants in San Francisco that don't have any trash at all. They're trying to go completely trash free by, like, I don't know what year. So what that looks like is the restaurants where you kind of bust your own table. What's that?
Like compost.
They have compost, and then they have a trash can, and there's compost and recycling, and there's no trash can.
Mm-hmm.
Compost.
So there's a lot of that in San Francisco.
You can put so much in compost.
What country is it? I think it's Korea or somewhere. You can't even throw like food. Like if you don't eat your food, you've got to throw it to a special reuse. Like they'll reuse it. You know what I mean? Or compost it, depending on. Like you're not, like, it's against the law to throw. I think it's an Asian country. I'm just not sure which one, where it's illegal to throw out like food waste.
The only problem with compost, because I think compost is amazing and you can pretty much put anything, almost everything in compost that can decompose, is that first of all, I was going to say, it sounds like America seems to be what's behind the times. But, the problem with compost, if you have compost everywhere, you almost create an environmental condition that you're trying to avoid, because you're talking, it'll breed rats, it'll breed, you know what I mean? Because it's decomposing matter.
It's going to
That would have to
decompose
be
somewhere, though. It's going to either decompose in a landfill, or it's going to decompose in a compost field of compost.
right.
So
But
one
it
way or
would
another,
just
it's
have to be
decomposing.
it would have to be very controlled, because you'd get the green people talking about air pollution and also that it attracts vermin
Right,
in
but what I'm saying
populated
is that
areas.
that product's going to exist no matter where you are. So when they collect the compost in San Francisco, I don't know where they take it. I don't have any idea. But I do know that I don't see a huge rat problem in San Francisco. So I know they're not
I mean,
taking it to
I
the end of
didn't.
my block.
I compost. My mother-in-law composts. She learned how to compost accidentally because I had been talking to a friend who composts, and she has like compost containers that and they put worms in it and the whole nine. And she was just talking about how the majority of her trash goes into her compost. Well, that was when I first learned about it in the early 2000s. Well, a few years ago, when I bought my house and I was working in my yard, I had taken some bags and I put, leaves and foliage and stuff that I'd cut down in some bags in my yard, and I accidentally composted them. I didn't know until the next year when my mother-in-law came over and she was helping me do some gardening work, and we pulled these bags out and I opened them, and I had what was like enriched compost that we used in our yard. And from that point, my mother-in-law, who then bought a house last year a block away from me, started doing the same thing from seeing it done at my house. So she'll throw like brown paper bags in there, eggshells, anything that she can throw in there that she won't throw in the garbage, she'll throw in her compost. It's kind of, I can't say it's a compost machine because she didn't buy one, she just made it. You know what I mean? It's just like a bin, with plastic, and obviously, she ties it up, and the heat, and she'll leave. Now she plans to leave it, straight through the winter. She doesn't have any rats, anything. We live in the suburbs, Kenmore, and her yard is like gorgeous. You know what I mean? Like she's a gardener type. That's her thing. But yeah, she goes and she throws eggshells and any trash that she can avoid throwing in the garbage, she throws into her composting.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're doing so I got to tell you, because I've had a rat situation until last week when I finally caught the rat and took her for a drive. I sprayed the shit out of my garden beds with peppermint.
Wait, you took this rat. You caught the rat and
Mike
took it
has
for
a problem with rats. Mike has a problem with rats.
I caught her in the humane trap, and I saw it because I had a surveillance video on it. And I saw it. It was like 2 a.m. when she got caught, and I wasn't going to get out of bed, so she sat in the trap until about 6 a.m.
Was there someone? Was Jimmy sitting? Was Jimmy sitting in the back seat? Or
no,
were you sitting in the back seat?
It was just me and the rat.
Oh, okay.
And I
then
was
you told the rat. You told the rat it was time to take a walk.
It's time to go.
Yeah, I was trying to find a place where I could like release a rat without anyone seeing me, because I feel like if you go out to a big park and you got a rat and you're just like, woo, people are
how big is this rat?
You gotta go out. Yeah, how big is this rat? You gotta go out to the woods. You gotta go out to the woods where no one
sees. No one sees your rat.
You didn't use like Irish Spring?
No, I used peppermint.
I heard that, but yeah, you can grow mint in water, right? So by your beds, you put bowls of water, right? And you cut the mint clippings and you put them right in there. And so like the mint, they're allergic to it. And so like that way it doesn't overrun your garden, and you can put it wherever, in these bowls.
That's why I mentioned Irish Spring, because rodents, rats, rabbits, they don't like the smell of Irish Spring, the soap. So you can buy.
That's probably the mint that's in it.
You can buy bars of Irish Spring, the actual bars of soap, and cut it into chunks and just like spread it around in your garden, and it'll. Because we have in Kenmore, when I moved out here, and my neighbors, I casually mentioned to my neighbors, like every night, right? You walk outside and there's like 5 rabbits in your yard. And I'm like, man, these rabbits. And my neighbors are like, oh, they're not bothering anybody. And this was in 2013. And I'm like, they're awesome. They're not bothering anybody. And now there's like this is like rabbit wonderland. Like you walk outside and there's like right now, if I walk outside, I'm sure I could count 80 rabbits
What?
before I get like to the next block. Yeah.
80 rabbits.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I got a
I'm
bunch
sure.
by my
That
house, and not
sounds
80.
kind of scary.
Not
Yeah,
80.
like,
They just
seriously,
look
they
at
don't
me
even
like,
run from you anymore.
no, they don't run for me. They just like, whatever, bro. I'm
No,
gonna
I
eat
mean,
your
if
Like
lettuce.
Watership Down out here.
I mean, 80 rabbits, that sounds like they run things out there.
Right. The
Yeah,
squirrels run
yeah, that's
things
what I
over
was trying.
here.
That's why I'm looking at my neighbor
Squirrels run.
scornfully when he's like, "Oh, they don't bother anybody." Yeah, 2013. Before they became everyone was cool with the rabbits out here, and now it's a breeding ground of rabbits. So that's how I know about the
They
Irish
probably
Spring.
have no
Because
predator.
I'm tired of my
me
garden.
tell you about
getting
these
eaten out by
rats.
rabbits.
They are not afraid of a little bit of soap.
They
They're
don't
not
care.
afraid
Oh,
of peppermint
man.
oil.
Here we go.
They
Need a Falcon.
escape.
Flavius
escape my
Maximus
humane
Part
traps.
2 here.
Get yourself a falcon, Erica.
Go
I
on,
had
Eric. I'm
Falcon.
gonna tell
so
you a
let me
story
tell you
after
about the
this.
hawk. So we had hawks that come by every year, and
It beat up the hawk.
no. So the hawk, I saw the hawk dove into the bush, grabbed a rat, and twice dropped the rat. Twice. And so he's flying, and he's
So-
flying over our pool. He dropped the
Please.
fucking rat in the pool. The rat's running across the pool, swimming across the pool. He got out, and then the hawk came back, got him again. It was good while the hawk doesn't stick around though. That's the problem.
Did you
had
ever
a,
see the little
like a-
video
it
on
was a,
Facebook where the
uh,
little girl was with her parents and they find this baby rabbit and they're like hugging on and loving the baby rabbit and her parents are right, let it go back so it could find its mommy and daddy and the little girl
I
lets
think
the
that was
rabbit
staged.
she lets the rabbit go and the hawk just swoops down and snatches the rabbit. Like
think
it
that was
gets like 10
staged.
feet from her. The hawk was like it just snatched that rabbit. I know that little girl didn't feel like it was staged. I might have been, but man, her poor little feelings, man.
So you're saying you're saying the rats don't care about a little bit of soap, which I mean, isn't really vegan anyway, but that's beyond the point. They don't care about mints.
The mint works here. I don't know. What
So
kind
is
These
of
are
there
rat you guys
sophisticated
got.
rats.
Is there
Right.
like a super mint or like a? I mean, if
You
you
could
use,
concentrate it, I guess.
yeah, I was gonna say if you use
Yeah, it's called
concentrated
government.
You
oil,
need a distiller. You need, or
I
you could go
use,
buy
like,
peppermint
really-
oil, like you said.
Really good, like really high end peppermint oil. And I
Dr.
put
Bronner
it in a
peppermint.
spray. It was Young
Yeah.
Living peppermint oil. I put it in the sprayer and I saturated the area around my garden, and that did not deter the rat at all.
Where do you know where they're getting in, right?
Oh yeah. So this is outside. It's a tomato bed. It's like a little prison, a little tomato prison that they're in. And eventually, I couldn't figure out how the hell they were getting in there because I had such a good
big.
enclosure. It's a
big,
raised bed. It's a raised bed.
Right. That's why the actual spray doesn't work sometimes. Is they dig. I don't know how they're getting in a raised bed. They might climb it because they will climb too.
I have video.
But-
She climbed it up. She climbed up the side and opened it and just went in, take a bite of every single tomato, left.
Isn't that like the most annoying thing? Like they did that to my corn. They pulled like every single one and just eat them.
Yeah, I don't
It's
grow
been-
corn because
took
the squirrels
one
will get 'em
tomato.
before I ever get it.
Right. You have to be like vigilant. I had it all burnt, and that you don't want to kill anything or like trap anything. So you don't want to use I have nets, but you can't. They can't be. If they're loose at all, you're gonna trap a bird in there, or you're gonna
I
it's
think
very
Mike
hard.
wants the rats to be killed.
Well, if you want
Dude.
to kill them, that's
Come
the
on now.
only problem I have with that is if you're gonna kill a I've had to trap them a few times, and it's there's you it's not there's no real humane way to make a trap unless you make an actual cage that you're gonna catch them in.
Well, I mean, they sell humane traps.
what are you talking about? Which humane traps?
The rat trap that I finally caught Radimus in, my nemesis.
Radimus Prime.
That's right. You go in, and so it's the door's open like this, and it's a cage, and she goes around the corner, right? and there's a little bar right there, and you put the bait on the bar, and when the bar gets knocked even the tiniest little bit, door flops down over here, so it's like a
So then it's
cage.
in there like that. I had a small one like that, a little plastic one, and then they die in there.
If you
I
leave
don't know
them
how-
in there, you
Well, how
gotta
am I
check it.
supposed to know? What am I? There's no alarm. Hey, I'm a rat's in here and I'm caught. Like
You
how?
gotta check it every day.
Yeah. So that's what happened when I tried to catch him with that trap.
You don't check your rat traps once a day?
Hell no, I don't. I got other things going on. I got all kinds of
Once
other
you
things.
once you commit to trapping, it's an everyday thing, man.
I've had bats.
So wait a
though,
minute,
and
we're
I've caught
actually
bats.
trying to keep the rats alive.
Well, they're Mike don't want
relocate
to
them.
kill it. Just relocate them to a non.
So somebody else can kill them.
So yeah, you let somebody else murder them. No, I've humanely gotten rid of like 4 bats in my house now. So that I feel good about that.
Yeah, I got rid of a bat.
2 rats I had to kill. The rats are too small. The bats I can catch. I can net them. I can box them and put them outside. There's like a bat problem around here for some reason.
Yeah, you're in Buffalo.
Yeah, like I'm in
Yeah.
Kaisertown, like West Seneca, like the edge of the city, and I don't know where like the creek they live in or something, but they get in here.
I used to get them in my house when I lived in Riverside. I just put on a hoodie, go upstairs, and either usher it out the window in the attic or catch it.
Got it
Because the people aren't coming out to do it. Like when I called for the bat excursion, they were gonna do it, but they're like, there's a waiting list. We'll be 90 days out. We're like,
Right.
but if you do catch it yourself, can you please take it to the vet so we can, because we're trying to determine how many bats have rabies or not. I'm like, listen, if I catch it myself, it's going back out to the wild. Not taking it to a vet. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna let it back out to the wild. But I remember the first time I encountered a bat. I walked up in my attic, and that was the first time ever in my life that I'd encountered a bat in a house. I walked up, it was a big boy, it was a fruit bat, but it was a big boy. Walked up in the attic, and it so my stairway, there's 2 doors. There's a door you open up, and then you walk up the stairs, and then you turn and walk up another flight of stairs, and there's like a door into the attic. I don't know why it was built this way. It was a house in Riverside. It's just this weird stairwell.
Very weird.
So I opened up the door, turned on the light, walked up to the first flight of stairs, and was at the bottom of the other, and the bat flew out of the attic, looked at me and turned around and flew back in the attic. And I turned around and was like, okay, there's a bat. I just remember I called the people. They told me they'd be 90 days out. I'm like, all right. I just put on a hoodie. You know what I mean? So I could protect,
days.
90 days out for an average bat. Because so many people have bats. They have a waiting list for bat excursions. So I just put on a hoodie.
They're all over this area now for some reason.
I just put on enough clothes that I could protect any exposed area in case that thing I didn't know it was a first encounter. I didn't know it was gonna fly at me and try to bite her, you know what I mean? So I, hoodied up, and I actually got, the first time I did it, I got a broom, because there's a window. I knew I got in. There's a window in my attic that I always keep open, and one of those long windows. It's a tall, long, lengthy window. So I always kept it open. So I just kind of shoot it out. I didn't hit it. I just kind of shoot it out, and it flew towards the window and flew out, and I just closed the window.
They're a pain in the ass.
This was a big boy too. It was a big bat. I'm glad I encountered it and not my wife. She would have had a heart attack.
They're big down in the Old First Ward area where the Dells are, because they're all hollow out down there. So that's where I think I don't live by there, but that's when I was young, there were some really big ones. But the internet's unstable for some reason.
I was walking home one time in Belgium. I was walking back to where I was staying, and we're walking, so we